Oh, not the yeah. And so the back part of the old it all works. So we were actually running this hardwire computer.
Okay, everybody. This meeting, the regular meeting for 6 p.m. is called to order. Would please make sure that your phones are on vibrate or shut off. And would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father, our God, we thank you, we praise you, it's our desire to glorify you. We come asking that you would keep us in order. We ask that you would kindly guide us through this meeting, that we may be able to do the city's business for the good of the city. Wash, cleanse, and forgive. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lucinovich.
Present.
Harris.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Mayor McGuire.
Here. Madam Clerk, any late communications?
Yes, there are a couple from GM Power. First one is dated January 5th. City Council to defer decision on tiny home development for reasons articulated in this letter. January 6th, the city could save over $3.4 million by promptly paying off the principal of the USDA water loan and the 2015 sewer note. January 11th, November 2019 financial statement analysis. And that's it. There's copies on the table.
Okay, ma'am, thank you. Presentations, City Treasurer Middleton.
He's sick tonight
So that's going to be
on the 20s.
on the 28th. Okay. If everybody can hang on. Sergeant Hayes, can you please come up here, sir? Yeah, see, now.
Ladies and gentlemen, we had a lot going on with our city for a while and are dealing with our police department. And Shannon came up and stepped up. And so this is for his recognition. I guess recognition. I'll get it right. Not resignation. No, he's not going. He's not going. Certificate of appreciation presented to Sergeant Shannon Hayes in recognition for your professional contribution to the California City Police Department, your dedication and willingness to serve as interim chief during a difficult time of transition, as a direct reflection of California City's ability to persevere through change. With the greatest of pleasure and gratitude, we present you this certificate on behalf of the City of California City on the 14th day of January 2020.
This is a surprise, but I do want to say there's not enough certificates to go around. The staff and the people at the California City Police Department, as Mayor McGuire said, we've gone through a lot of change, and getting through all of it couldn't have been possible without everybody involved. Lieutenant Hightower, everybody. So if we can make one of these for everybody, it'd be great. But from the bottom of my heart, everybody in the department, thank you.
We're gonna change this just a shade. So could the new police chief, need you to come up here, please. We are ready, ma'am.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm not. Okay, I have to find your name.
You want the mic?
No. I can talk loud enough.
Okay, rock and roll.
I state your name.
I, John Walker,
Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend.
you want me to repeat that?
I
solemnly swear that I will support and defend
The Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of California
the Constitution of the State of California,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will take this obligation freely
take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
that I will faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
The penny. Yeah, the family, come up here.
You got it, you want to up? They're doing this with Olay. Going to our list. I know that. All right.
Outstanding. And if the family would come up with the new chief.
Family, friends.
How many? Family, friends.
All
You can be taller.
I can be taller.
ED, you guys wanna come up?
Oh my gosh.
ED, if you guys wanna come up, please.
They can come up after.
Good. Second picture.
Can tell we all use the same photo.
Everybody ready?
Are we good?
Anybody else? Want me to take some with your camera or?
Sure does.
There we go.
Only $5 a shot.
Money up.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay, everybody ready again? I'll take another one here, just be safe, all right?
Don't hold us up there, we're also allowed.
Okay, here we go again. Okay, we're good?
Thank you.
Yes, sir. And if everybody can, Chief, if you can hang on for a second, please.
Yes, sir.
Can we get police up here, please? All the PD.
I know.
Thank you.
Protecting us when we got water. Or right in.
Everybody get in tight, get in tight.
That was your first guess? No. I think I got your flash.
Yes, we can. Yes.
Taking any more pictures? I don't know. Thank you so very much. And Chief, you can't go anywhere quite yet. Now, you can have a seat.
Okay.
And, from the next presentation, well, we're gonna do this. Next presentation is from the Lions Club.
Yes, Tom Wheel from the president of the California City Lions Club. We're here tonight to make a presentation to the police department, more specifically the K-9 program. This funds is $500 to be utilized for either training and or equipment, builder's choice. And Chief, if we could, we'd like to present this to you. Since you're the grant, we had to switch around.
Got here and handed me money, I love it.
Yeah. Everything went wrong, so welcome to our community, sir. And bring our K-9 up.
Yeah, K-9, could everybody come up for a photo, please? Lions.
Hey, Lions.
Let me set this down.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Thank you for the donation.
If you're in your outfit. Okay.
Okay. Ready to go now?
Wait, everybody smile. Okay.
Diane, you get anything like that?
There we go.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Can we have the dog say a few words, please?
Mr. Mayor, on behalf of California City Supply and Greenstone, we will also be donating to the K-9 Fund $7,000. We do not have a check, we are presentation here tonight, so we would make sure he has the best in needs for the K-9 Fund $7,000.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now for the second part of this. As a service organization, the California City Host Lions are working with Kern Counts to make sure that every man, woman, and child is counted in California City. And the count starts in March of this year. Tonight, we brought in bilingual flyers, which are the same ones in Spanish and English that are being handed out throughout the county. Let's see, we have a large supply of them, and we'll be getting as many as we can into the community as need, and we can get as many more as we need. We'll be in contact with the schools to ensure that every book bag has one of these going home. And there's also a coloring page. Sorry, we did not bring colors for you tonight, but you have copies of those up there. To those that prefer to receive digital information, you can go to kerncounts.org, and they have over 90 different languages that this information is being, translated into. For those, the California City Branch Library, of Kern County Branch Library is also conducting a lot of programs this month and next month. This Saturday, for example, January 18th at 10:30 a.m., there'll be a family history mystery where you'll be able to use your skills to solve a family history. During the entire month of January, they're conducting census scavenger hunts. Then on February the 15th, they'll be holding a coat of arms creation. We will leave complete copies of the library's programs in the lobby as a lobby copy for people to refer to. Now, one of the things that's been a challenge in our county is not everyone is connected to the internet, hence we have to rely on paper sometimes. But within our community, for homes that do not have access to a computer, there are 2 places in California City where the census will be taken, and that is at our Kern County the Cal City branch of the Kern County Library and Robert P. Ulrich School. And you'll be seeing more information about that as time goes on. I will also leave all of the other places that you can do the census in the lobby as well. For those concerned about privacy, and that's a really political hot button in our country and in our state, the crimes for using or misusing this information or releasing it to other agencies are stiff. So we want to assure people, please fill out the census. Why is it important? Well, let's see here. I'm taking a breath here. The census is very important for federal funding. For every single body, for every single person that's counted in the census, that's $1,950 per year, or $20,000 per person over a 10-year period in federal funding. And what are the things that will affect? Schools, roads, hospitals, law enforcement, child care, senior programs. We also have Meals on Wheels. That comes from the federal government. Community development block grant money. We really need to make sure that we have access to that. And many other services that are federally funded. So please, we can't go door to door because we are not official census workers. Only official census workers can do that. We've received that from Sacramento on down. So we have to use the water bill if we're asking for that, to maybe put this flyer, both English and Spanish, on one piece of paper and put it in our water bills. And I think Carolinda Fleming has already been in contact with someone in the city to deliver the digital files that can be used for that, because it's very important that we help get the word out to everyone. So you'll be seeing these flyers if you have children in our schools or grandchildren in our schools. You'll be seeing these come home soon. We have not gotten to the schools yet because they've been on this long break, but we'll be doing that. And then you'll see the coloring pages will be in the elementary schools, or for you guys if you want more. So thank you very much for your time. This is a very important census, and we serve. Lions serve. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
Before we move on, Chief, did you want to say anything? Oh, hang on. We're still under presentation.
Good evening. We are with the California City Revival 2019 and 2020, and we have some cozy and packages to pass out. One for every adult, and 2 for those who are in their second childhood like me. We had a request from a young lady, and she was asking, when will we have a revival? When will California City have a revival? When will the churches get together? When will the pastors get together? And what we've decided to do is let California City get together. California City has a population of Christians. 8100 CC Boulevard, Suite 101. We meet on every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. to talk about the city's Christians coming together. Everybody's invited. Everybody's invited. You don't necessarily have to be a leader, but if you are a leader, we desire that you come so that we can put this revival together so the city can have a revival. So that every child of God who wants to find out about God, or every child of God who wants to rededicate themselves, will have the opportunity to come be a part of the revival. It's not 2 or 3 churches that we put something on, and then you come and help pay our phone bill, our light bill, our gas bill, and then you are revived and going home. That's not what it's about. We want the children of God to be able to say that they know the God that they believe in. And we want a citywide revival. So we're asking each citizen who's a child of God to come and learn about us. We're already online. We're on Facebook, California City Revival 2019-2020. Y'all done yet? I'm running out of things to say.
Never has that happened, you know, never.
Well, that's a first for just about everything. But we really are putting this together. We've been working on it since the summer of last year. Because we want the children of God to be revived. We want our city to once again, when we say one family, one family of baptized believers, and one body. The question is, are we one body? Are we one body? And I was talking to the young gentleman, and I said, he said, well, yes, Christians are one body. And I said to them, and I asked a question. I said, well, if we're one body, how many churches have you been invited to come to? How many churches do you go and sing at? How many churches do you go and help teach? How many churches do you go to? How many churches do you visit? How many times can you go to a different church and be recognized and everybody knows you? How many churches can you go to here in California City? I'm not talking about anywhere else. Just here in California City that you can go to and you have a friend in just about every church. If we're one body, that ought to be the case. We ought to know where our friends go to church. Folk ought to know whether or not we are Christian, because we live in a Christian nation. But the question is, are we actually one body instead of just parts and pieces, and every now and again we are stuck on as an appendage one to another? No, we are members one of another. So we pray that you would come every Thursday, unless of course we're doing something else, at 6:30 on California City Boulevard, 8100 Suite 101. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Chief, did you want to say something to the public?
I would absolutely love to say something.
Can we get a microphone to him, please?
First thing I want to say is never give me a mic, because I never give it up. But first and foremost, I want to thank my family and friends for coming out. I love you guys for making the trip out here and supporting me. I'm still trying to do new things in my life, and you guys supporting me is great. My old partners from my old department, these guys been fighting crime for 50 years and taught me how. So I want to thank you for coming. I also want to thank the mayor, the city manager, the council, the city, California City, for selecting me to be your next chief. I'm really excited to be here. I can't wait to get started. In fact, this is my second day. I've already met with my officers. Many of them are here. You saw them. They're a great bunch of guys, and they're really hard workers. They've been through some very difficult times, and I'm hoping that I can help with that and bring them together, because they're great guys. A little bit about me. I was born and raised in Los Angeles. In 1987, I fulfilled one of my childhood dreams, and I became a police officer for the Los Angeles Police Department. And I did that for almost 3 decades, in which I not only witnessed history, but I was a participant. I saw everything from visiting presidents, to popes, to civil unrest, to celebrations, to big trials, to Hollywood bigwigs that you can even possibly think of. And I learned a lot in that time. I learned a lot about police work. I learned a lot about different facets of police work. And I learned that as a police department, all the police departments are constantly trying to evolve, trying to get better, trying to new technology, anything they can to safely police their cities. But what I also learned was about people. And the thing about people is they don't change. They want to live in a safe place. They want to lay their head on their pillow at night and not have to worry that someone's going to come into their house and take their property or make them victims. They want to drive up and down safe streets. They want safe places for their kids to go to school. They want safe parks for their kids to go to. And that want, whether you're from a big city or a small city, is inherent. It's in all of us. So my plan as a chief, with what I have in place already, again, I've got great people. Lieutenant Hightower, Sergeant Hayes, all the officers that I've met already. These guys are hard workers, they're dedicated, and they want to make this a safe place. So my goal is to get them the best training possible that I can get, the best technology I can get for them, and to build our numbers so we can safely do that for you, professionally and with compassion. And also, while doing that, we're going to do that with integrity, and we were going to be completely transparent. And that is my plan as chief, to make California City a safer place to live and a safer place to work. So again, I want to thank you for the opportunity. I hope I can make you proud, and I will do my absolute best. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Okay, any, well, we're gonna go now to, since presentations, consent calendar, or excuse me, civic community organizations and announcements. Huh? One more presentation, then come up here, please.
Oh, wait, I got a community.
Okay, we'll cover them both.
I'm not wearing the Lions Club right here, but there's a group of artists and makers in our community. And on January 25th, the Cal City Makers are going to be having a swap and sell, which we're also going to have demonstrations for people looking for a craft, to talk to experts and people that are very good at different things. It's going to be held at the Senior Center from 10:30 until 3 p.m. And that's all.
Thank you so very much. Yes, sir, come on.
Good evening. I'm Todd Broussard, California City resident, 28 years, currently president of Little League, and also on the Parks and Recs Commission. So last meeting, we had submitted a proposal to renovate the Little League fields, and it garnered a lot of press, I guess. So we couldn't come to a compromise, so Little League decided that we were going to try to do as much as we could on our own. So tonight, I just want to thank some people that have stepped up and tried to help us in our process. We've started the renovation of the girls' softball fields. And to this point, Pepper Williams, I'd like to thank him for Williams Construction. He's retired, but he's generously donating his time to oversee this project. He's out there pretty much every day with us and trying to make sure that we're doing it up to the standard that we want and the city wants, and something that we can be proud of. Rob Irwin from Mayan Masonry out of Court Seal has donated his labor to build the block dugouts. Right now, we're at the point now that the dugout walls and stuff are up. The foundations are in, and we've got to roof them and do a bunch of other stuff, but that's where we're at. Ray Ramos donated his labor, his personal labor, to finish the foundations and stuff. Jerry Heller is going to be the one that's donating his people and his folks and his expertise to roof them. Ron Smith came out yesterday and sealed them with his airless and stuff. Ron Smith, city councilman. Just want to say thank you to him. The Little League has established a field renovation account separate from our normal day-to-day operations account that we're accepting donations and monetary donations. Up to date so far, Pete Madrid and Leland Corelli from ASAP Heating and Air have donated $5,000. I want to say a huge thank you to them. Michael Ellison from Ace Hardware and some other ventures in town donated $5,000. Ray Wilkins from InQ and Force Off-Road donated $5,000. So that $15,000 has basically covered our material costs for the first two dugouts that we're trying to get done. The labor and stuff, it's all been volunteer labor. So I think we can probably get them done under $15,000 or somewhere in that ballpark. If we were to have to pay scale or whatever, these dugouts would probably be in excess of $50,000. They're that nice, and they're gonna be that nice when we're done. It's gonna be something that Cal City can appreciate and be proud of, and have people come out and say, wow, you guys are really stepping up in the role, and that's what we're trying to do. I'm here to ask the rest of the community, for people that are interested in trying to help us out, to please give me a call, or I'm on the Facebook page, or just reach out to Little League. We're gonna need a lot of help to try to get all the stuff that we wanna get done. And it's gonna take larger contributions than the normal people that do it every year after year. I mean, $300 a pop, it's gonna be a lot of $300. So, I'd like to invite the city out to check our progress on the dugouts, the progress that we've made so far. They're turning out so nice. We're also looking for donations of block, fencing, clay, sod, expertise, labor, whatever you can provide that might be able to help us. Please reach out and let us know what you can do to try to help a better environment for our kids to play on. We have a lot of individuals that step up year after year. The banners that you guys see on the fields, people donate money to just run Little League. We have a lot of players that pay little or nothing to play Little League. We couldn't exist without the community's help in doing this. So when you drive down the boulevard, you see all those banners out there, these are the businesses that I'm asking you guys to please support, because they're the ones out there supporting our community. They're the ones out there supporting our kids. So if you see somebody's business up there, you know that, hey, they're trying to make this community better. So I'm asking that please support these people, because they're the ones that make Little League happen. Last but not least, we have a Little League registration tomorrow night, DiMaggio's from 5 to 8. So if you have kids, grandkids, or someone you know, friends, family, whatever, that have kids that are ball playing age 4 to 15, get them signed up tomorrow. My goal is to get 200 kids playing baseball this year. We've been a little bit under that in the last several years, and I'm going to try to rebuild the program. So I do have some numbers for you. I'll give them to you separately, or hopefully get on the agenda for next meeting. Did you want me to announce any of them? The one thing that we really need to get done is fencing. And I got an estimate from Marvin from Fence Masters. It's roughly a little under $21,000, but it needs to be our priority. There's some fields that we can't play on because the fencing's so bad. And then I got other numbers too, but I'm not going to bother you guys with it right now.
If you can give those numbers to the city manager, please.
Yes, sir.
And then she can get them to us.
Okay, and just to put me out there, if anybody wants to give me a call, my cell number is 661-886-4581. Just give me a call, and I'll meet you whenever you need. I am retired, sort of. There you go. And that's all I got. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. First of all, I'd like to thank Todd Broussard for his working tirelessly on this endeavor. He's also our park commissioner, if anybody didn't know that. So he's an honor to work with. He retired, but I think he still works 13 hours a day, and we're really proud that he's part of Cal City and this project. So let's get this done for the kids. The Little League fields are a priority. Moving on to some Park and Rec quick announcements. We have adult exercise class that's pretty new. Started up with Leah Buford. She just retired from the Cal City Correctional Facility, and she's a wonderful teacher. So keep your New Year's resolution and come on down. The class is $25 a month. It's fun. It's from 9 to 10. Lots of music. We also have an indoor walking club that's still free to help you keep your New Year's resolution. It's Monday, Wednesday, Fridays from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Trading Card Club is back by popular demand. It's going to be happening every Tuesday from 5 to 6:30 at the Strata Center. So all you card collectors and everybody come on down, and we'll play some Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, Gathering, and whatever other trading card clubs you enjoy. We have a Park and Rec Commission meeting tomorrow at 3 o'clock PM here in Chamber. We do this every Wednesday on the third Wednesday of the month at 3 o'clock. We do have a seat that has been vacated since our last meeting, so we are looking for one park commissioner to join us. Tortoise Day planning meetings are going to be starting up again in February. The first one's going to be on the 12th at 6 p.m. at the Arts and Community Center. This first meeting is very important. We ask that each organization and club send a representative to this meeting so we can start planning our community event and our parade. Tiny Tot T-Ball. Tiny T-Ball is also taking registration right now through March 26th. This is a great first taste at baseball, real informal, so like a parent and tot type program. They do get a cute little uniform, the ages from 3 to 5 year olds. It's $32 for the season. So if you'd like to register, you can email ssantos@californiacity-ca.gov, or you could call us at 760-373-3530, and we'll help you out with that. Most importantly of our announcements tonight is our next big event. We have Wings of Hope coming up very quickly. It's going to be at January 24th through the 29th. This is our annual photography exhibit put on by the Art Commission, Parks and Recreation, and our other sponsor is the Desert Rose Garden Club. For more information, please call Parks and Rec. We have January 24th, we're having a meet and greet from 4 to 8 p.m. You can meet the photographers. On January 25th and 26th, we have some family activities scheduled on Saturday and Sunday. And then it runs also January 27th through the 29th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So come on out, see the exhibit, support our local photographers. Photos will be for sale. We also have an opportunity table, and that all those proceeds go to our Save Our Lake campaign. And this year we're trying to put more educational signage around the lake regarding plants, wildlife, and things like that to have lake conservation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, would it be okay for us to have a recess that our new chief can speak with his family, people can get to greet him for a few minutes? Is it good?
We can do that for 3, well, let's do it for 5. The one thing I want to pass on to everybody is that if you are wanting to donate to the park bench for the survivors of the violent crimes, you can now pay at the utility window. They have a special account that money goes directly to that in reference to putting the money together to purchase this item. So if you're willing to do that, you can come in anytime during normal business hours and make your donation. Tell them what it's for, and they will knock it down to nothing flat. Yes, ma'am.
They can also donate to the animal shelter at the utility window now as well.
So with that, we're going to take about a 5-minute recess so the public can meet the new chief, and then we'll move on.
Pretty snazzy scarf. Bringing a little retro style. Yeah. I still think it's the hair. It's a little troublesome, but we're talking about the locks of love. He said, he's got pictures.
Oh, yeah. We're on time schedule.
Not all.
You get paid by the same people. Yeah. Is he working out? I think I'm actually sick every year.
I don't know.
He's 8
So they can see him.
Where's the packaging? Oh, yeah. Only the top there.
I wasn't expecting it.
We'll talk after. We have staff at 9 o'clock, yep. 9 o'clock? Yes, I'm emailing you now, just because we have interviews for account clerk 3 from 11.
Sounds great.
My grip.
I don't know if you want to hang out in case there's any TV questions that pop up or anything. I don't see anything on the agenda.
No, usually the second.
Okay. Then I'll get out of here.
No, even that dog.
Pretty good. Hey, I'm trying to train Sky and find out what's going on with all the postings. It's posted, yes, and there is a CEDO. It's posted always on that front board. I did look today.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, could everybody please take their seats?
We don't have access to the website, so I think he was trying to get it.
How are you?
Well, no, because I'm emailing her. We emailed her tonight. I don't know if you're We're trying to get access.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, everybody, we're gonna get started again, so if you could please, everybody can have a seat.
Doctor.
Okay, yeah, please. Thank you, sir.
I put them out in the rack too. I didn't see that she had it in the rack.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna get back
Should be in the rack now.
to the agenda, consent calendar.
No, you didn't finish presentation.
Oh, I didn't?
No.
Then get up here. No, we've got this one. She's coming up now. I apologize.
I have to brag a little bit about a young woman that was born and raised.
Name?
My name is Jane Wright. You know that way.
Yeah, but people in the audience may not.
Anyway, this young woman, Amber Mitchell now, was Rohrbar. She was raised here. All of our kids grew up together. She's been in the community for years and years and years. And in 2016, she started a nonprofit corporation called Bridge for Hope to help the children in the schools that didn't have enough to eat. I brought printouts of everything that she's accomplished since she started Bridge for Hope. And of course, this year has been the biggest year so far. They did weekend bags, which is where they fill the kids' bags up for weekends for them to take home. They did snack bags, 500 of those, 6,100 of the weekend bags. Thanksgiving baskets, 83. Christmas families, 413. And they have care closets in 4 of the schools that are stocked with food if the kids need to go get a bite so they can sit still and learn. She's done an amazing job, and this year when she found out that California City wasn't going to have its toy drive for the children, she picked up the next day when she found that out, went to Bakersfield, applied for all kinds of help, and got 250 toys for kids from babies to 17 years old. They came to town. Officer Bennett helped them, so they didn't have to be going through some of the areas that weren't the safest to deliver the toys to the kids that need them so bad. I think if you read this, you'll see how hard she's trying. And because all of these things have to be delivered and taken and made sure that everybody's taken care of. I'm going to leave these on the table so that you can see, and perhaps if anybody here wants to donate, all the information to reach is on the back page.
Thank you so very, very much.
You guys should be so proud of her.
We are. We're proud of
She's
her.
30 now. Remember, she was dancing at Kelly's when she was 12. Remember?
No, because that makes me older. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, anybody else before we move on? Seeing none, consent calendar. All items on the consent calendar are considered routine and non-controversial and will be approved by one motion if no member of the council, staff, or public wishes to comment or ask questions. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Roll call vote is required. CC1, approved city check registers dated 1/8/20 through 1/8/20. CC2, give second reading by title only and adopt ordinance number 20-778 of the City Council of the City of California City to amend section 8-1.01, article 01, adoption, chapter 1, building and safety code of title 8, building regulations of the California City Municipal Code. That was awful. With that, anybody have any questions in regards to CC1 or CC2?
Good evening, Jim Creighton. CC1, if I've done my math right, there are late charges in the amount of $3,337.86 going out to various vendors. We having trouble paying our bills?
I'll let this finance will answer that.
Mayor, City Council, we didn't have a problem with it. It's just that the last item of the pay of the invoices is reading from our software. So even though you're seeing late charges that say here's $1,237 for one, the late charge is $124. We had an administration issue that we corrected. Some of our vendors, we've reached out to them and they're going to refund us for some of those late charges. But
all right, thank you.
It's been addressed.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Good evening again, Al. That's in check number 106889. That's to VHT. Why in the world are we using VHT for items that are local and not federal? And by the same note, those are charged against count number 55-5117-315, and that was allocated. That was for public works admin. $50,000 with these chargers here, the, overrun on that is up to 90,000. Why? Next item is check number 106910. That's for $700. That was for the person that was to put up the freezer and everything. What the status on that is? The freezer for the animal shelter.
That was ASAP. That was it for ASAP. And she can give you that answer right this second on that one.
It has not been put in yet, and the 700 is for the rental of the current freezer.
That's what?
It's the rental.
No, it's rental, okay.
Yeah, we haven't paid anything yet, and it has not been put in yet.
Okay, check number 106967, that's to Price Page. We paid them, 27,000, now we're up to 34,285. Why do the charges keep going up? Are they finding more of, anti-heat screw-ups?
I believe that was, they're getting ready to close it out. Yeah. I believe that's gonna be a closeout, but don't hold that as gospel.
Well, when is the, audit going to be ready?
Kenny, do you know that, when the audit's supposed to be ready?
Yes, when I reached out to the auditor, they said they hope to have something by the 31st.
When?
31st.
31st of this month?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Complete or just,
Complete.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Okay, and, on the check, dealing with BHT.
BHP?
Yeah, that's the one you wanted, the first one you asked?
Yes, because BHT was supposed to be restricted to federal only, but yet they're involved in the RFPs and everything else. Why?
I will get an answer to that.
Okay.
The next day.
I don't know. Pardon?
Oh, for BHT, yeah, I saw the splits.
Because it was, I think we're paying.
27,179 was what he actually paid out of that.
Okay, the rest was reimbursed. Okay, 27,000 was the reimbursement and some change, I believe. Oh, that's how much the city paid, and the other amount is the reimbursement from, different, and it's like grants and things of that nature.
Okay, because it just doesn't smell right when they're charging thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for the engineering on the airport fence. Don't smell right.
You guys the same question. Anybody else? Dealing with CC1 or CC2? If not, coming up here. Sir?
I've got two, I have two, Mr. Mayor, on, check 106797. Our city manager explained that, to me. My concern is with the hundreds of cannabis permits that have been issued, are we going to have a slew of those permittees wanting to have a refund on their excess engineering? Or is this a unique case?
This was a unique case, and they gave us a check for about $32,000 to cover this. So we received a check before we gave the refund from health.
Okay. So we should not be seeing a whole bunch, a slew of these coming at us.
We should not, but the burden would be on health. He goes through them. If it's legitimate, he pays us before we will cut the check.
Thank you, ma'am. And then my other question is on 106889 BHT Engineering. The security fence check for $3220, and then a check for $3100. I'm new to this, but is it normal practice for an engineer to write their own grant and then not to have any oversight as they perform the details of their own grant. And I eat at Foxy's quite a bit. I have yet to see any surveyors out there. It just, is that normal practice, Mr. Mayor? If I get an answer to this, is this normal practice for a non-government entity to be able to write their own grant? There's no such thing as government-funded anything, it's all taxpayer-funded, and then not to have supervision as they perform what they have written themselves.
Yeah, because the airport is be dealing with Caltrans and FAA, should be District 9, Caltrans and FAA, but
Please go ahead. So on this specific project, if it involves the airport, the FAA gets involved, and they have really stringent requirements. So they audit our check reimbursement so far, and then we return back. The original grant, I believe, was for $150,000. I think they spent about $70,000, and we should be under $80,000. The remainder of the $70,000, they're currently applying to try to use that for the actual fence itself.
Thank you, sir. I guess my question is, it's my understanding that they wrote the grant for themselves, they're doing the scope of the work themselves, and they're supervising themselves, and that we are not supervising what they're doing. And we're spending thousands in the surveying on this. I just,
Yeah, and you're correct, and I see your point. They did write the grant, they are doing the engineering, and then there is no, the only thing that, on that is that we, like in our case, the city relies on the FAA to be the check and balances for them. And they are real thorough, there's a lot of auditors. It's a federal government, so there's definitely auditors checking everything. Every time we do reimbursements, they email back with questions, they want forms, they want documentation. So the FAA is the one auditing them, it's not the city. The FAA process, the grant application, and then the whole process, as far as the requirements on the engineering and so forth, is so complicated that it takes a specialized engineer to be able to provide them what they want. And it is complicated, it is time, it takes a lot of time, and.
Thank you.
Follow, please?
Yes.
But this is also the basis of the problems we suffered with the structure for dirt. If that had been properly overseen as far as the engineering costs or the estimations of the cost of the building, we might have actually gone ahead with that project. So that at some point in time, we're relying on the larger government to answer these questions for us or to take responsibility, but when it came time, they said, no, you're gonna have to find the money out of your general fund to do this project. And it just seems, the more we count on them, the less reliable their service has been for us. And they didn't have any qualms about asking for the money back on dirt, and I'm just using that as an example of there is a lot of oversight and a lot of very detailed requirements to submit for those funds, and here we are actually suffering for allowing that project to go as far as it did, given the faulty job they did controlling or guiding it forward. And I think that's what you're seeing here as well. It's the same thing, exactly. I'm not a person with an answer, there's no answer to this, but the idea is that I guess we have to become a little bit more proactive in evaluating these projects for what they do for us.
Yeah, and then I see your point. DHT does provide very itemized invoices, and I did look those over. And the way they itemize everything, it seems as everything is done correctly and properly. And we haven't, none of our reimbursement requests from the FAA have been denied. All our reimbursement requests have been given to us because the process has been followed correctly up until this point. So I don't know if that gives you any assurances or not, but
do we consider that success? You know, they submit a bill and it gets paid by the state of California or the FAA or someplace else? I mean, seems kind of funny to me.
I was under the impression a couple of years back, the state said that, engineering firms were not allowed to supervise their stuff. And I don't know if that was dealing with everything or just selected projects, that you had to have an independent separate.
Yeah, in 2014, it used to be that your engineer could design the project and then be the project manager and the inspector of record, as well as the engineer of record. That changed in 2014. And this case, this is not the case in this, for this fence project. They're just doing the engineering. They would not be able to inspect the work or supervise the work.
You know, I have one question also, real quick. I've been here for 3.5 years, I've asked the same question. We are continuing to get bills for the fencing for the airport. And then I saw an overview of the cost of putting in the fence and everything else. I think we need some oversight to see when this is gonna end. You know, it shouldn't take 3.5 years to figure out where we're gonna put a fence at the airport.
I will look into that and get an answer to you.
Maybe a projected timeline.
Yeah, that would be great.
For myself, I can't with a clear conscience, our city staff is not doing any supervision because of the way the grant has been written. But yet we are paying an engineering firm that we do not know what they're doing. All we're doing is, and I can't with a clear conscience, to approve a check. I'm sure it'll pass, but I can't. How can we pay for something that we do not know what they're doing because we're not supervising it? I just can't myself.
Councilman Smith, if we hold a check, and we'll do a thorough review and give you guys a follow-up on that. I did hear your concerns, so.
I would appreciate that.
So what check are you gonna be pulling me? 106.
889.
889 is gonna be pulled and brought back. Okay, thank you.
There are two of them.
Yeah, that's just one big one.
Just the one. I know.
Can we just pull the airport? They haven't received a check in a couple of months because it wasn't a second meeting in December, and this involved a lot of other projects. So to hold the whole check, it just seems like it's a little unfair.
There was two items there regarding the airport fence and then multiple others. Do we have a page number on that? 15.
We can void it and reissue it, just.
Maybe we just hold the airport funds.
Yeah, I don't want to mess up plans for progress, but for these two, I just, with a clear conscience, I cannot approve one more dollar for this grant when we're issuing the checks, we have no supervision over it. It just seems wrong. Nuts would probably be a better term, so I will quote the mayor on that.
So we have two line items, is there three? So I see the first one at 3,220. The second one is 3,100. Where's the third?
3,500.
ACIP.
3,500 is ACIP. That's not the fencing, no. That's but it's involving the airport. If we can pull just those three and pay them the rest,
That's
then I
fine.
think we
Yep.
would.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Looking for a motion then to approve with the exclusions of the airport on that check.
I make that motion.
I'll second.
Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Lysander.
Aye.
Harris.
Yes.
Smith.
Aye.
Mayor McGuire.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, continue business one, appointment of planning commissioners. The planning commission had 2 seats whose terms had expired. The 2 commissioners were Jim Creighton, the chair, and N.J. Helms, the vice chair. To ensure that the business of the commission would not come to a stop on September 24th, 2019, council approved both commissioners to continue on the commission. Also, at that meeting, several council members voiced their desires to be more active in the interviews and selection process. It was also approved that the recruitment process would begin setting an end date when applicants had to send in their letters of intent by. Both positions were advertised as open to be filled, with only Mr. Creighton and Ms. Helms submitting letters of intent. Following the deadline date, N.J. Helms was offered a position in the OHV program, and she subsequently accepted the OHV position with the city. This created a need to repeat the recruitment process for her seat. With Commissioner Creighton's seat being uncontested, after staff delayed his reappointment until the process was finished to fill the newly vacant seat. On December 10th, 2019, during the council meeting, Christy Munt was brought forward to be sworn in as a planning commissioner. Subsequently, a vote by the city council was taken on whether or not to approve the mayor's appointment of Christy Munt to the city planning commission. Additionally, Christy Munt was the only one who had applied for the open planning commissioner seat per the city clerk. During the vote, Mayor Pro Tem Stump, Councilmember Paris, and Councilmember Smith voted no, and all 3 gave the same reason. That was due to the alleged posting process was not being done correctly, and other citizens were not able to apply within the time frame given. The city clerk was then directed by the mayor to repost the position and to accept letters of intent from all persons that applied for the planning commissioner's position, with the closing date of January 3rd, 2020 at the end of business day. Additionally, to keep things as transparent as possible, it was decided to have an interview committee to conduct the interviews for planning commissioner. This consisted of Mayor McGuire, Councilman Paris, Planning Director Alexander, and City Planner Economic Development Administrator Monk to be on the interview panel. On Monday, January 6th, 2020, a plan was set into motion for conducting interviews of all the applicants for planning commissioner. The interviews would occur on Wednesday, January 8th, 2020, starting at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. The interviews would occur as follows. Each applicant will be asked the same identical 16 questions. The scoring for each question was on a 1 to 5, with 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest. If the applicant scored below a 3 on the question, then the rater would have to document why they gave that rating. If the applicant scored higher than the 3, again, the rater would have to document and justify that rating. At the end of each interview, rating paperwork was collected and delivered to an independent third party for review and tabulation of the applicant's score. Whoever got the highest score was the applicant who would be brought forward before the city council to approve before being sworn in at the next regular city council meeting. The recommendation is based on the information from this staff report. It is recommended that Jim Creighton and Carla Connery be approved and sworn. Additional information. This falls under California City Municipal Code Section 2-2 or 2-2.104 terms. And these are 2-year terms, which are supposed to start back in May 1st. So we will get back in that group. And then physical impact, the monthly stipend of $50 per meeting per month, which has already been budgeted for the planning commission. In addition, mandatory state training will have to be attended and paid for by the city for the new commissioner. There could be a cost for travel, hotel, and meals during the training if out of area. When the training is scheduled, that information and cost will be brought before the city council prior to attending the training. The funds will be drawn from account number 10-4175-230, Planning Commission, and the current fund balance as of January 9th, 2020, is or was $1,400. And then the finance reviewed and initialed that this was approved, and that was done on 1/9/20. That being said, we're coming now back to the public for any public input in reference to the appointments.
I'm giving the city clerk copies of some paperwork.
Can you state your name for the record?
I'm sorry, my name is Tammy Johnson from California City, California. Each one of you are getting copies. Everyone now knows that you have them. The posts have disparaging remarks about city workers, law enforcement, business owners, and the cannabis industry. The industry we have been counting on to get ourselves off the special tax. And I just hope you give some of that information some consideration for making final appointments.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else?
With the advent of Photoshop and even just the
Can you
editing, Silver Far, sorry,
Thank
Silver
you.
Far. With the advent of Photoshop and just any kind of ordinary editing you can do on your iPhone,
They're still online.
anything is possible, and it can be posted online. So any of these so-called disparaging remarks really aren't verified, and it's just a social media accusation, and I wouldn't give too much weight to it at all. Incidentally, some of the things are true, but they were in reaction to a very long period of harassment, which has already been addressed in court. She was embattled, and I think she was justified, and some of the reactions, while they were harsh, they were mild in comparison to what she should have said. Anyway, and she's not against any kind of businesses here in town, I know that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
May I speak?
Yes, ma'am?
Carter Conry. Yes, I said those, but they're taken out of context too. I admit it. And most of those things were actually said 2017,
Okay, can you talk to the mic so?
2017, early 2018. Okay, I'm not gonna deny I said them, but we were also fighting for a chief to come back. I was going through other things as well with other people online. I did appear in court May 9th and testified against the individual. I took him to court and I won. And it's gone an onslaught of the same people, time and time again, attacking for no reason. My opinion is very valued. I do a lot, but I should be able to say what I want to say. It is America. So if these people take offense to what I've said, and the officers that I did speak against, because they were wrong. They broke the law, not me. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor McGuire, council, staff. I'm DJ Tuhick, and I want to, first of all, acknowledge the Planning Commission and the work that they've been doing the last several years, as I've attended almost every single meeting. It appears to me that for several years, not much was done. Not very many meetings were actually held. In fact, one year, most of the meetings were canceled. In the last several years, there's been a lot of work go through planning, that there's been a real consciousness in the Planning Commission. We've had a planning commissioner, Mr. Creighton, that's done a fabulous job. It's very obvious that he's read the materials. It's very obvious that he's done an independent search on his own court. And so the appointment of Mr. Creighton, I can 100% support. I don't agree with Mr. Creighton's views on spending, but that's why I like him on the planning commission. With respect to the other appointment, I sat in an interview, Mr. Ferris, with you and Mr. McGuire and staff. I recognize some of the questions from last year. They were well thought out, well composed questions. With respect to the scoring, that's your pleasure how you score those things. It does strike me as odd that the planning staff would be scoring planning commissioners. It's a little bit odd. But however, I have some different disagreements with the planning department, and I've expressed those, and they're very real. The basis of my disappointment is that I want more for this city. I want success, I want solutions, and I want economic growth, and I want it greatly. And there are times that I have documented that I believe the planning department has impeded our progress as a city. If you really love our police department, then you really should love economic growth so that we can sustain our police department. Even a minor impediment in planning is a serious issue that should be taken seriously. In the event that you appoint Ms. Carla, I wish her great success. I'm sure that she'll do a great job. Maybe she, if made comments out of context, could be forgiven. We wish her great success on planning, and we wish the city great success. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Then bringing it up here. Anybody? Sir?
Mr. Mayor, one request, can we get the lights on when people are, are they out?
No.
Oh, okay, but just when people are talking, all I'm seeing is kind of a shadow on their faces. When they're talking, I'd like to be able to.
There we go.
Thank you. We have three of the four individuals that were in on the interview. Chairman Creighton, Commissioner Creighton, it goes without question. He has a track record. No one's gonna question his knowledge of the materials. For those that were interviewed, Christy is an incredible volunteer in our community. She's a fixture around here. Carla has lived here many years. She has historical information in our town. Mr. Tuig, his knowledge of land use, economic use. There were three good citizens that were recognized. My question, I wasn't in on the interviews. 3 of the 4 are here. And I'd just like to be able to poll those that were interviewed. Do you believe, if it's okay, Mr. Mayor?
No.
Okay. But what I want to poll is, do you believe it was, I just want to ask, if everyone interviewed believed it was a fair process?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Mom, was it fair?
Yeah, we scored them all, and
Yeah.
I mean,
So you would feel you have no problem with the fairness of the interview?
no.
Totally fair.
Okay, Mr. Mayor?
Absolutely fair.
Well, then, my recommendation would be, if there's not gonna be any more discussion, that we would then accept those that did the interviewing and their recommendation, and, to, approve these as recommended.
Second motion.
Okay, since, we're talking dollars, since even though it's been approved for spending on that, roll call vote?
Councilmember Lucinovich.
Aye.
Ferris.
Yes.
Smith.
Aye.
Mayor McGuire.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, if you would please take a swig of your water and please administer the oath. Mr. Creighton and Ms. Turner, would you please come up?
Okay? I state your name.
I, Jane Creighton,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign or domestic,
against all enemies, foreign or domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will take this obligation freely
that I will take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations. Okay, new business one position, Mayor Pro Tem. And that was, back in December 27th, 2019, City Clerk Hilger received a letter of resignation by Mayor Pro Tem Eugene Stump, effective immediately. Due to this action, it is necessary for the council to approve a subsequent Mayor Pro Tem. This designation would be in effect until the end of the two-year term of the mayor in November 2020. In accordance with the California City Municipal Code, Councilmember Don Paris would fill the position of Mayor Pro Tem pursuant to California City Municipal Code 2-1.104B. Each time the mayor is seated, the most senior member of the council who has not yet served as Mayor Pro Tem shall serve as Mayor Pro Tem. The council member who has received the most votes during the most recent election shall serve the Mayor Pro Tem if two council members have equal seniority. The council member who declines to serve as Mayor Pro Tem shall be deemed to have served for the purpose of determining succession. Mayor Pro Tem shall serve at the pleasure of the council and may be removed by an affirmative vote of majority of the council, in which event the mayor, the majority of the council shall select a new successor. Recommendation, City Council pursuant to California City Municipal Code 2.1.104B, approved Councilmember Don Paris to fill his position of Mayor Pro Tem. And do we have to let the council or the public in on this, since it's basically house cleaning for us? Okay, anybody want to come up?
I'd just like to say, oh, sorry, solar power again. Don Paris is an excellent choice. And I'd like to say congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else? Nobody else? Bringing it up here, looking for a motion.
Make a motion to receive recommendation and approve Councilmember Don Paris to fill the position of Mayor Pro Tem.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You don't get to speak. You've got the sign there. Put it up. All right. Still in the picture.
I'd say take the bottles down, but I can crop.
A lot of house cleaning going on.
Like the bottles. Okay, straighten your shirt.
And your bottles.
Wrinkles in your shirt, sit up. Stop my phone from shaking, okay, there we go, okay.
Okay, next, in NB2, filling vacancy on the city council. This will be from the city attorney.
Good evening. So, the item before you is, relates to the vacancy of, one of the members of the city council. As you're aware, Councilmember Stump resigned his position on the city council effective December 27th. Under California law, the city council needs to make a choice between one of two choices. The first choice would be within 60 days, in other words, sometime before February 25th, certainly you can make a decision this evening. You would need to decide one of two options. Option number one would be to appoint a replacement. Option number two would be to call an election within 114 days of the date that you make that determination. So roughly speaking, add 3 months, 3.5 months. So you would need to call an election within that amount of time. Of course, the city would need to pay for that election, etc. So you do not have to make an appointment this evening if you choose to appoint. And essentially you have wide discretion on how you want, if you decide you want to appoint rather than call an election. You have broad discretion about how you can decide who you wish to appoint. You can make a decision now. You can ask for applications. You can have a vetting process. You can essentially, you have wide discretion on deciding how you wish to select an appointment, should that be the pleasure of the council.
Does anybody from the public want to come up?
I got you. As a city, Jim Creighton, as the city attorney said, 60 days from 27 December is 25 February. In the background portion of the report, the city attorney states that the council has, quote, complete discretion on how that appointment will be made, unquote. One of the suggestions implies that council may appoint an individual during this session. That seems a little ludicrous to me. Seems like if you do that, it seems like another new rule will be put in play here, similar to something else that's just gone past. State law says that elected position vacancies will be filled either by appointment or special election. There is no governing directive in state law that says how an appointment is to be made, but the city council has already made one appointment this term, and they should follow that format once again. If council considers, I'll pass that on. Okay, if council considers selecting an individual to fill the vacancy tonight, when there is ample time to do so under the law, that smacks of pre-selection and goes against the integrity of this council. That's all I'm gonna say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Al, you gotta get moving faster. He's got to jump on you twice.
Okay. I'd like to present an idea that is novel, nonpartisan, and democratic. Under the government codes, there's no criteria that a council member has to meet to serve on the council. So therefore, we want to give everyone that applies an equal opportunity to sit on the council should they so desire. And the most democratic way to do that is to put their names in a hat and draw it. That gives everyone an opportunity. That is how we get a non-partisan person sitting up there and eliminate the accusations of favoritism and such as has been alleged in the last two appointments. It only makes sense to do that. This vetting stuff and all of that stuff, it's totally against state law. So let's give everyone an opportunity, an equal opportunity to sit on the seat. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
What do you think about it?
You know, thought the last,
The Democratic,
I thought the last two things that we did went fine.
well, still, there was clones, there was a clone in the first incident. Nope. I don't know.
Okay.
We don't want mirror images of city council person, we want an independent person, and that is the way to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Karen Macedonia, California City. While I recognize that the council has great discretion here as to what you're gonna do, I do agree with Mr. Creighton that the council has set a precedent with the last appointment. And the city, because it was an open interview, you saw how many of the residents came to listen to that. So perhaps some kind of a scripted question that everybody gets asked the same question, because our last appointment, we asked different questions of different people, and some kind of a scoring, but this really is, if you decide to have an appointment rather than a special election, this is really something that the city's interested in, and we would at least like to hear the applicants. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else?
Is this just about the process that we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
So, anybody up here have anything, sir?
Yes, I believe we should do it exactly like we did the last appointment.
What's your calendar preference?
Well, we need to post it, so that's gonna take,
Let's post it and give 10 days for our letters of intent.
Is that what we need to do, Madam Clerk? 10 business days?
Yeah, 10 business days, so.
You wanna do a Saturday, the 1st of February?
Well, hang on for a second.
I was in the process, and I don't believe I'm a clone. I think my voting record would show that I'm not a clone. But in politics, the elected officials get to make appointments, and until recently, it was the mayor who would make appointments to planning commission. So it is a political system, and elected officials have the right to be able to make appointments to someone that they believe is fitting. Commissioner Creighton said it was ludicrous to even consider making an appointment tonight. I don't think anyone up here would even consider such a thing. But being someone who just went through the process, I appreciated the opportunity to be able to speak. The only thing that I would, being in the process, that I would make a recommendation, and I do feel somewhat uncomfortable because these are the 3 elected officials. I was an appointee. I feel somewhat uncomfortable as an appointee appointing another appointee, being in the process, but I am sitting in Councilman Johnson's seat, so I have that responsibility to be able to cast a vote. But the only thing that I would add from being in the process, I was the first name that was brought forward. It was a 3-1, and I think it left a number of people somewhat flat, that there was no discussion, there was no opportunity for any other names to bring. I don't know how that would be changed. There was somewhat uncomfortability on that because it was such a quick decision. And I don't know what we could do to change that, but I thought the interview process, I think it was a good thing. I appreciated the opportunity to be able to speak and to have the public ask me questions, and to insult my intelligence afterwards. But we live in America, and that's their right. So I personally like the process, sir.
I don't want the city to spend between $25,000 and $55,000 for an election that is only going to be good for about 8 months, maybe 9. Right. That is ludicrous. I think what we did before, even the council before that, where we appointed somebody, I think it was done right, and I like this because it gives the public a chance to ask their questions. And I don't wanna take that away from the public. That's not right as far as I'm concerned. I think the public should have a say-so, especially if we're doing an appointment. Because we're not doing a special election, there's not a voting per se in this, for the public. But we have a right to appoint, and I think this is the route we should go. So that being said, just out of curiosity, what, if we start this tomorrow, Madam Clerk, what's the 10 days period? That's what I was thinking, but she's the one in control of this, because it's dealing with an elected official position.
We want to include running it in the paper, then
Yes.
the first time that it will get in there will be the 24th. Not only runs in the paper, we'll put it back on the website like we did last time.
Okay.
Flyer out front. So the 24th will be the only time in the newspaper, so if you want to, sometime, and we have a meeting on the 28th, I don't know if you want to.
Let's shoot for
29th or 30th?
Let's shoot for February to have the interview, but we're gonna need it on a Saturday. So that's the only thing we're dealing with, like we did last time.
Okay.
For the interviews.
Can't you
For
just
the
send out
interviews, yeah.
the ones to the newspaper, that way everybody gets it when.
Okay, I.
What if we didn't have a newspaper?
You're looking at what matters?
You want to do the first? I'm not here on
That's true.
Or not here.
I'm not.
Or do you wanna do it on the 15th? 15th, okay. All
I
right.
can take it, you guys can, do you want me to take them up till the 10th day, or if you're gonna extend it until where we're not gonna meet till the 15th?
Yeah.
Do you want me to, what cutoff date do you want me to use for?
Let's
for
take it
taking
to
them?
the end of the month. How's that?
The 31st?
You're posting on the 24th, then 10 business days after the 24th is the 7th of February. And we're giving you a couple days to compile
Yes.
the applications, and again, put them in our hands.
Okay.
And then the meeting is on the 15th, that's the next,
Okay.
that's.
Okay, so the deadline is gonna be, Friday, February 7th.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see
Correct.
here. Okay.
Can I make that a motion?
Yeah, so we're gonna, yeah, make that a motion?
Sure.
Fire away.
The process would be that the beginning of the nomination process or the application process would begin on the 24th with posting in the local newspapers, local public, what is it called, Denise?
Website?
The local.
Mohawk Desert News?
Yes, but.
Local news media.
Whatever.
Right.
However we
Do all of it.
denote that.
Yes.
And then to end the application process on the 31st of January, and have the actual application hearings on the 15th of February.
Okay, so we're going to.
closed on the 31st.
What's that?
City Hall is closed on the 31st.
We have 2/7.
You did this once before.
Well, I still took them until, okay, so we had just said that we were gonna take them till 2/7.
To the,
If we take them till February 7th, that gives me the next week to get them to you before the 15th.
all right, I'm sorry.
Is that okay?
That's perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
So that would be my motion.
Looking for a second.
I'll second that motion.
And since we are dealing, there's gonna be money dealing down the road, let's go ahead and do a roll call vote, please.
Can I also make an announcement, please?
Yes,
For those that have already sent a, application, if you would resubmit, because I want it all to be, on a fair playing field, so if you've submitted, you need to resend for me, anytime, obviously after tonight, because it's now been approved, the process. So I just wanted to, make sure that everyone knew that, so.
Tonight or after?
Resubmit, since we, just resubmit.
You can start that.
Yes, sir. What?
Can I do it now?
I think I'm here.
Okay, right. Hope so, because we're set in stone. So remember that, if you're interested, turn in a letter of intent, also possibly maybe a resume of some sort to go with everything. Make sure it's, the sooner you get it in, the less you have to worry about it. We'll get it sometime after the 7th and then bring it forward at a public meeting on said. Yes, ma'am.
Are you requiring a resume?
Just give us a little information about yourself. A letter of intent.
Okay,
Okay.
but a
Yeah,
letter of
we-
intent by itself is okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Just give us a little bit of information about yourself. And with that being said, I think we're good. Did I go good? Yes, I
Do
do.
you want to, provide direction to staff on what the interview process would be? It sounds like it would be the same process as last time, that it's open questions, you can ask whatever you
Yes.
want, it's not programized.
Yeah, we will,
Same process.
yes, basically. Okay, Madam Clerk.
Okay, Councilmember Lucinovich.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Paris.
Yes.
Mayor McGuire.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. And B3, water infrastructure inventory location services, new laptop for chief water operator with 1 year of AutoCAD software. Mr. Berrigan, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Arrow Engineering has provided the city with a proposal to inventory and locate our entire water system and integrate into an AutoCAD and web-based GIS mapping system. And then I'm gonna, when I get done with my staff report here, I'll have Mr. Brian Glidden from Arrow come up and he'll do a little presentation. He'll speak on that, so I'm not gonna get too much involved in the GIS mapping system, other than to say that city staff believes this service is essential to helping us control and maintain our water system. Also, since, starting 2020 this year, Microsoft will no longer provide updates for Windows 7. That could open up the system to security threats. The laptop that is currently used by our chief water operator is an old laptop running on Windows 7. City staff needs to replace this laptop with a new one, as well as purchase a monthly subscription of AutoCAD for a 1 year on this laptop. This software will give chief water operator the ability to update our water system on a CAD file as needed. The cost for Arrow Engineering to inventory, locate, map the entire water system and the first year hosting of the GIS system is $343,270. The new laptop for the chief water operator is $1,530 plus tax and shipping. The annual subscription for AutoCAD is $1,701. The recommendation, the city council approved the use of the water enterprise funds to authorize Arrow Engineering to inventory and locate our entire water system into a CAD GIS mapping system and to host it. Also authorize the purchase of a new laptop and a 1 year subscription of AutoCAD. The laptop and AutoCAD subscription will be purchased from other vendors. And on the fiscal impact, when the final budget was approved, council asked that all the capital improvements be taken out of the budget and put just on the side, so that we would do this, bring any capital improvements that we want to bring forward, we bring forward to council to get approved. So that's why that's just a minute. And then I'm gonna bring up here Brian Glidden from Arrow Engineering, and then he'll speak. And then after that, we'll ask questions. We'll answer questions.
Mr. Mayor. Yes, sir. We're talking about a potential project of $350,000, and And truly, it seems to me that the only way we can approve this would be to consider it to go out for bid. I don't think we can just, allow staff to come in and make a recommendation.
If I can speak on that, that's incorrect. On a project like this, what we look for is qualifications. Just like later on, we have another staff report discussing the studies, the updates to the matter, and so forth. We're asking for requests for qualifications. You're not asking for a request for proposal, because what we're really looking for is qualification. We wanna make sure we get the most qualified person to do the job, so we don't get a job that's inferior or not adequate or not what we're looking for. So legally, and we have some stuff on that we can present. Legally, this is the way you would do it. This is so important, so you wanna make sure you have someone that's qualified. And that's gonna do the job right.
Speaking of what is going on up here, whether it be called a request for qualifications or a request for proposal, at our end, it has to be some sort of competitive process. In other words, you can't just say, I found these people, I've got this price, and we're done with the whole process. Up here, we're gonna wanna say, were other people given an opportunity to give their qualifications, and was it competitive to us?
Right. This was done. It was done. We picked our engineer. It was over about a year and a half ago. We put our request out for qualifications. In that request, we specifically listed items like this. So this is already in Aero Engineers' contract with the city. It's in the contract. We have something on that we can present, we can probably show. So when we did it a year and a half ago, we did a request for qualifications for an engineer to do this specific service. What you don't wanna get is, let's say you get a bid that comes in and it's $30,000 less, you go with the lower bid and it's not what we're looking for. The end product
That is your opportunity as staff making a recommendation to the council. But you are asking for a project to be done, and it would seem to me that you would go out and ask a number of engineers. We did not define this inside the scope of the monies for the engineer, or else this question wouldn't even be asked. You're asking for money to come from the department, the water department, to pay for these planning services. And I'm not disagreeing with your services, I'm just wondering if it's not appropriate for us to hear or receive other people's qualifications for this service and have it be competitive. I don't think that by signing or making a budget item that says for the next year we're gonna pay $150,000 for engineering services, that allows us to then receive a bid or a request for qualifications for $350,000, say somehow they're connected. They're not connected.
I understand what you're saying. It's just, the way I look at it, we did a request for qualifications and we put that out, and we got those from engineers, and we went through them, and we picked the most qualified engineer to do this type of service, because it's listed in his contract. It would be unfair to then say, oh, now we're gonna put it out to bid again. But I mean, it could just be a difference of opinion.
Mr. Mayor, just for a moment, as we're spending the city's money and the citizens' money, three bids for something, for anything. If we're gonna put for the freezer at the animal shelter, something well less than 10%, I can't with a clear conscience, if there's not three bids, I can't vote for it. And I think for Mr. Glidden, I think he might want to save his presentation, because I don't believe there's any diet up here that we're going to spend the citizens' money if we don't have three bids. I don't see how we can.
It would be impossible to get three fair bids now that his quote has been put out there for his proposal. This is why we put out a request for qualifications a year and a half ago to get a city engineer to do this type of work. And then we ask for a task order, and that's what he did. But since normally we just go on budget, but since council did not want any capital improvement projects in the budget, this is the route we're going. And I understand the large amount of quantity, but this is what this costs. It's a very elaborate system. It's going to take a lot of time. It's labor intensive, and
Can I address council real quick?
Please do so.
Brian Glidden with Airway Engineering. Good evening, Mayor McGuire, Mayor Pro Tem Harris, council members, city manager Lynn, and staff. I just wanted to mention that the way professional services are procured by a state or city agencies by qualifications, and you do not bid the price for professional services. I brought a book here that describes it. I have Kyle, if you go to the last PowerPoint real quick. Flip into the last slide, excuse me a second. I think again, we'll be able to refer to the attorney, but there's something called the Brooks Act that was established in 1972. This establishes the way city agencies procure professional services such as engineering, surveying, and architectural services. These are procured totally different than construction services, or when you're just trying to acquire a piece of hardware. There's no bidding involved. It's always qualifications-based selection. And then you would potentially negotiate with the most qualified person. As was mentioned by Joe, we were already selected by the city to provide on-call professional services a year ago. Our services, and I have copies here I'd be happy to share, list us doing surveying, mapping, GIS, drafting. That's all the services that are going into this project. My wife said city manager for capital improvements at City of Palmdale. They never go out and bid their professional services. They go out every 3 years and they bring on a team of people that could provide the services based on qualifications. They then select people from that pool to provide the services and negotiate a fee. They do not bid them by price. In fact, when you go out for qualifications, if you were to start this whole process over, which would just consume more staff time and more money, you would get qualifications, you would review those. You're not even supposed to open up any kind of price quote at all until after the selection's been made. Then you sit down with the most qualified person and you negotiate a fee. You open up the fee and you say, yeah, this looks good, or hey, is there a way we can change the scope or slim this down by a few dollars? This is the way professional services are acquired. It's not a bid process. And again, you're covered by state law. It's already in our contract. They're completely protected. And again, you're getting the right product and by qualifications from a firm that's done this. And that's part of what my presentation would show, again, is our qualifications. Can the city attorney address the Brooks Act?
So the Brooks Act is federal law, it's not state law, so I'm not sure.
There's a state version too.
There's analogous law. So the idea is that the city, if it wants to, well, actually, typically the way that it's accomplished is that the city will, and as he stated, you can solicit bidders and essentially you negotiate. It doesn't have to. I think there's two separate things going on here. One is what you are saying, which is we want to make sure that we're spending the money in an efficient manner. What he's saying is you already picked us, and so you should proceed. And we can go through a process, we can expand the process if that's the direction from the council. You have the authority to do that. And the question is, do you want to do that, or do you want to go with a firm that apparently there's already been a process? I apologize, I don't know all the background, but it sounds like there's already been a selection process, and City Manager Lynn can speak to that. But there's already been a process in which it was determined that this is the firm that is most qualified.
You guys put it out open to anybody to provide qualifications for the selection process a year and a half ago. And we were one of several that submitted, and we were one of two that were selected.
I guess I'm still confused because we were asking for an engineering product that then allows some, an actual in-the-ground, result out of it. This can be done by multiple engineering firms, and in this particular case, we contracted for regular, I don't know exactly even know how we would describe the general, engineering activity that we contracted with Aero for, but it was done on an hourly basis. I just feel that we're kind of in this place where if we don't know that this is a reasonable bid to do the job, then what are we doing? How do we feel responsible to the community that asked us to come here and guide the city through what I think are very troubling financial times? I don't want to feel like I didn't do my due diligence, and one I don't know. I mean, I want the project to go forward. I think the project's a good project, and maybe in the end, Aero Engineering is exactly who should do it for us. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't feel comfortable with this the way it is.
Again, you guys have gone through the selection process. I have a piece of the contract between the city of California City and Aero Engineering right here that I'll share with the
If you can bring it up to the city clerk.
But Mr. Mayor, we're being asked to vote on this. If this was an ironclad contract, we would not be, if these services were already contracted, we would not be asked to vote on it.
Well, the reason why we're voting is, remember, all capital improvement projects were pulled out of the budget, and it was gonna have to come up through council to get the approval. That's what this is about. If the thing was already, if the project was already there, they would have come up and said, this is it, A, B, C, D. The city engineer is doing it, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I know that, I remember when this was brought up, that they were gonna be on call, and we were gonna have them do certain things.
This was a listed service in that.
So we wouldn't have voted on this if it was not, would we still not be voting on $340,000 thereabouts?
Any monies that are removed from the enterprise fund has to go through council. So the fact that, a year ago, all the, capital improvement funds, or the water enterprise funds were removed and put into a capital improvement fund was illegal, okay? It didn't have council approval, none of us voted on it, it was just done. Now, the monies have to go back to an enterprise fund, and consequently, any money, so the $346,000 has to be approved by council before they can proceed with a capital improvement project. The process, they're doing the process, the monies is what concerns me, is whether or not we can use this money, water enterprise funds for this particular project. It was my understanding that we could only use it to replace water lines, so there's just some issues as to whether the funds, we can legally take them out of the water enterprise fund, and that would be something for our attorneys to give us the recommendation on.
Mayor and council, I didn't mean to interrupt you, sorry.
That's fine, go ahead.
So the process has been done correctly based on the RFQ we did before. We can do our due diligence and make sure that we're getting the right price and that the monies are coming from the right place. Bring it back on the 28th.
I don't have a problem with that. The concerns are, Health Engineering supposedly had done this.
Not this.
A year ago, as far as a year or 2 years ago.
This is separate.
That's, Okay, so they,
And this is a water system inventory. we go
right,
out and survey
you are
positions.
correct, so
Yeah, so
they just did a water rate study, did they not?
Correct.
The Water Master Plan 2014 water rate study. So is this, and I can tell it's not because I saw your presentation earlier that, my question was gonna be, is this a duplicate of what, Health, Water Availability Study did? But you showed us that, they were lacking in a lot of areas and we need a lot of update on it. So my only concern, is whether or not, we can use enterprise fund monies for this.
And just, when he was approved, it was for these services up to 250,000, and then the other 100,000 if we had to go out for anything different. So the monies, they were budgeted for this initially, so we'll do our due diligence, and we'll find out and make sure they're coming from the right place.
We just, again, I don't wanna continue to be in violation of Proposition 218 as far as enterprise fund monies. If, council says we can use them, then I don't have a problem with that, but I think we need to look into it a little further, to make sure that, the monies coming out of the enterprise funds, we can legitimately use for this project.
Okay, so to be clear, you're okay with the way this has been done, you understand that he was, contracted to do it, you just wanna you want us to make sure that it's fair price and it's coming from the right account.
That's my opinion, yes.
If you're asking for my opinion, expand the process. I want to get our legal advice from our attorney, and if we can expand the process, I will, if I ever vote for any amount of money, certainly of this magnitude, that 3 bids are not required, then please remind me that I said that, and I will step down immediately. We are to protect the finances of our citizens and our tax dollars, and we would not be voting on this if this was not on us, and we must expand the process, in my estimation.
Also, I have a book from the American Public Works Association that describes how services like this are acquired and guidelines for public agencies, which again, just reviews everything that I just said. And I'm more than love to give you a copy to look at, if you would like to look at it. Again, it's never a bid, it's always a selection based on qualifications for these kind of services. I know that people are used to pricing things, but that's not the way this is done. And the law is written that way actually to protect you guys, so that you don't get the low bid guy that gives you the product that may not adequately serve your needs. It's not like you're buying a Ford Probe and they're all the same from every dealership. This is you're buying services and experience, and just like engineers and surveyors and architects to do what you need to do. You need to have somebody doing it that, again,
I'm
is
going
gonna do the
to
job.
design a water treatment plant, a sewer plant, and I'm asking the engineer to draw plans for it. Am I not asking for a service from the engineer? And that is not appropriate to get bids for a project?
As a private person.
No, as a city.
As a city, you do not get a bid. You would go out for qualifications. That's the way the process is set up.
So what he's saying is technically correct, but there's confusion. The answer is yes. The reality is price matters. Yes, you can select who you want, but you can say, this is the person that is most qualified, but then you can say, oh, sorry, your price is too high. You don't want to sign the contract? We're going to go with somebody else who's second most qualified. Then we're going to negotiate with them. And we say, we don't like your price, we're going to go with the third most qualified person. So yes, price still matters. What he's saying is correct, but price matters.
What he's saying is price can be a component from the standpoint that you aren't sitting there comparing 3 prices. You negotiate with the first person, and if you can't reach a deal, then you open up the price for the second person and negotiate with him. So you start at the top and you work down the line. But you've already, like I said, gone out and found somebody that's pre-qualified to do this. It's listed in our services. You're just repeating the same process again, hoping to get several other people. And again, you're going to have to rank and you have to negotiate with the first one. second one. It's not like you put all the prices next to each other. They come, if a price is included, it's in a separate envelope, and you don't open it until after you've ranked everybody, and then you start to negotiate with the first most qualified person. It's described in here, it's described online, you guys can find it if you do a search in the internet process, and that's the way other agencies do it. And you guys may not have done it that way necessarily in the past, although that's exactly the way I was selected. You guys followed the state processes that are required to get us on board. And that's the way professional services are handled, different than contractor services or trying to acquire a widget. And then all the services that we're providing are to help you guys maintain and manage the water system so that it's very appropriate where the funds would come from. Because this is gonna help you not only manage and maintain those facilities and know where they're at and deal with emergencies like Joe just had this last weekend where he couldn't find the valves to shut off. You're gonna have that information. And then again, be able to move forward. You guys have very out-of-date information. It can't be relied upon to make decisions. And also by picking up all the water line information for your system, you'll be able to verify your water standby fees because you'll know what parcels have water lines in front of them where you don't have the true picture of that now. How are you gonna ever set your standby fees or tax people appropriately if you don't have this data? So this serves multiple purposes. This is all to help you guys deal with what you have and to make things better and move towards that direction of proper standby fees, proper maintenance, and being able to plan and deal with the system. You guys have a very large system that you have to maintain. And you're very short-staffed, and without having data and systems like this that make their job easy, you're tying their hands. Again, I'm open to, if you guys want to continue it to the next meeting.
I have a
I'd love
recommendation.
for a second opportunity.
I want to thank you for your time, and staff has been incredible and innovative in trying to get these things done for us. I recommend that we do our due diligence, answer more questions for you, and bring it back on the 28th.
So MB3 is going to be tabled until.
Excuse me, Mayor, can we table the GIS and then just get the laptop with the CAD subscription?
Yeah, sure.
That is necessary.
Yeah, I can bring up, if you have that, I can bring on a laptop, show you the CAD system. These are tools that we need to be more effective. Thank you.
I make that motion.
Second.
We can't talk about it?
Laptop in there?
Yeah, I got some questions.
Well, then we make the motion, then have the discussion.
Okay, so we made the motion to table strictly. Pardon? Yes. Table except for the laptop and the AutoCAD. So if you wanna come up and talk.
It's all in the same thing, but you're opening it up for the AutoCAD and the laptop, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it was,
Jim Creighton again. So the laptop I don't care about. I mean, the laptop's necessary, and in order to run AutoCAD, it needs pretty good processing. But my questions are, AutoCAD is an annual subscription. Okay, so he's gonna have to bring this back year after year as part of the budget. Is the water supervisor trained on AutoCAD? If not, who's gonna train him, or is the city gonna send him to school? AutoCAD is a very intensive program, and it's an extensive learning curve. Is a full version really necessary? I myself used AutoCAD Lite, which has almost the same capabilities as AutoCAD, and it's a lot easier to learn. Will the water supervisor actually be creating water drawing files? Probably not, simply modifying them. AutoCAD Lite costs less, and it also, like I said, it has much the same capabilities as AutoCAD, and the annual cost is also lower. And I've stated this before to council, I don't understand why the city doesn't look more into enterprise-wide software purchases as opposed to multiple single user. You end up paying less in the long run with an enterprise subscription. Thank you.
Brian Glidden with Aero Engineering. I have a second company called GDMS. It's actually a government reseller for Autodesk products. So I'd like to address what Jim brought up. There is a product AutoCAD Lite. There is a product AutoCAD. Lite is great for just drawing some lines, but it doesn't do some of the other things that full-blooded AutoCAD does. And one of the things that Autodesk has done to change the product is they've integrated a lot of tools into it that used to be in separate products. So the advantage of having a full-blooded AutoCAD is that this would allow staff or Ammo or Joe to actually be able to start to attach information to the water lines or the fire hydrants or whatever, so that they can start to build and interact with a mapping system like I proposed. Again, there's not that much difference in money. I don't sell very many AutoCAD lights to cities. Normally they would be buying even more exotic products than even straight AutoCAD, like Civil 3D or other packages. So all I'm saying is, I would recommend you guys stick with the AutoCAD to have more functionality. Otherwise, you're going to have to upgrade and pay again later. Prices are always going up. And just like Adobe, other products as well, Microsoft, you have to pay on an annual basis. So about 8 years ago, Autodesk started moving towards a yearly fee. So in a way, you lease the product, you don't own it anymore. So the minute you miss a payment, it just doesn't run anymore. But if you guys have any questions, again, specifically between AutoCAD and AutoCAD Lite, I'd be welcome to answer any of those. Thank you.
Mayor,
Could I, sorry.
Council, Mayor, we have done our research, and this is the product that we feel best for us. And yes, they'll get training, and yes, they're capable of using it. So, of course, we will do the proper training for this. Thank you for approving it.
But how much would the training be?
I can speak on that real quick. I will train him myself. We won't have to send him anywhere else. I'll train him. He'll learn to pick it up.
So it'll be in-house.
It'll be in-house. And then you used to be able to buy LT for like $1,200. They did away with that a couple of years ago, and they brought a subscription now. But Mr. Craig is correct on a lot of points he made. Unfortunately, they don't sell like that anymore, as far as I know.
Yes, sir.
So, well, that's in the RFQs, those are request for qualifications. That is used to narrow your selection field. And then you do your RFPs, that's request for proposals. They sent out after you do your vetting on the RFQs. This was not budgeted. When it was put into all of the capital improvement plans and everything, I'll put it someplace else. But I have to agree with Airport Tim Paris, that this money should not come out of the Water Enterprise Fund. The Water Enterprise Fund was funded by ratepayers under a vote for a specific purpose, and the specific purpose was to replace water lines only. We haven't done it. The other thing that this proposal is deficient on is sewer lines. They just want you to do sewer and then come back for another $350,000 charge to map the sewer lines too. Why is this not included in this proposal? It's a responsibility of the Public Works Director and the City Manager to make sure that these are all encompassing so that we get the biggest bang for our bucks. We're not Beverly Hills. The other thing is, we do not know if this study or survey makes a distinction between the types of lines. Steel PVC or cement. We have no idea what this identifies. And those are serious questions for me, because in the process, Joe will tell you, when there's problems, you have to know what type of pipe you're dealing with. We have no idea of that. And these proposals, there's no distinction included in there. Correct, Joe?
No, it will. It'll tell you what type of pipe it is and everything, the size, its height, you know, it gives you everything.
How so?
If you go click on a pipe, even for example, the valve will be GPS. So if you need to find a valve, you put the GPS coordinates on your phone on Google Maps, it'll take you to that valve.
Okay, since this is being tabled,
Okay, so it's tabled.
it's tabled minus the CAD and the computer.
But the clarification on whether or not this comes out of the water enterprise.
That's gonna be asked and answered.
Okay, because my research says that it should not.
Oh.
And I'm just as qualified as counsel on research.
That'll be asked and answered. So we'll wait. Yes, sir.
Mayor McGuire, council, DJ Tudik. 2 years ago in April, there was a water standby fee extension. We brought much testimony and documentation with respect to the subject engineering report that was written in 1971 and extended, I believe, in 93 and then again for a period of years. At that meeting, it was said that the city had an assessment of every parcel that had a water line connecting to it. It was said in this chamber. Even though we brought testimony that it did not exist. Maybe you recall, Mr. Paris, Mr. McGuire, you were present. Ron, Councilmember Smith, you were in the audience. There was a closed meeting that day on that very subject because of the testimony with respect to a report that did not exist. There was a comment out here in the chambers after the closed meeting that you guys, the council extended the water standby fee at that time based upon having the report in hand. Over the next several months, there were consent calendar checks written to Helton Engineering to pay for that very report, if you recall, that did not exist when you extended the water standby fee. And so if you're going to do clarification, if you brought mention of the reports for the water rate increase, I think it's important that the public, the taxpayers, especially the water standby fee taxpayers, get a determination from the lawyer and the council for certain what the heck we paid for. Where did that money go? And where is that study?
And that's why this thing.
No, you missed me.
No, I'm not. I didn't.
Where did the money go? Where did the money go? And what do we get for our money? This is a whole new thing. And so if we spent all those hundreds of thousands of dollars, as you recall, that went into closed session and came out that we had to have a standby fee, and oh, we're going to get it right, and then we go pay for this report, where'd it go? Where is it? That's a lot of money to be pissing away. And so for the water standby fee, I also understand that the city is turning off tracts of water. You better look at that and see who you're assessing water standby fees. You're turning off water lines to tracts, you got problems. And so there's some big problems here. And I think there ought to be a lot of clarification, a lot of knowledge base between the council, the attorney, the engineer, and the public to actually address these questions that have been sort of, brushed under the rug for like way too many years. I think it's time that we bring all those questions forward and answer them for once and for all. Perhaps that study didn't exist. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Tommy Johnson, California City, and I just want to know if the estimate for the AutoCAD program, if they've looked at, have they gotten great estimates for that? Because we have found it online, priced much cheaper than the cost here.
I can address that.
Brian Glidden, Arrow Engineering, GDMS. So as a government reseller for Autodesk products, there's already a pre-negotiated price that works under the California Multiple Award Schedule and also GSA schedule that guarantees that you're getting a pre-negotiated government rate so that you don't have to go out and get prices. So a lot of time and effort goes into establishing that, and it makes it easier for local governments to acquire software.
Okay, thank you.
We have a motion and a second on the table.
If the motion is taken, is everybody finished up there? Okay, let's, so, the motion is to go ahead and authorize those two items.
Correct.
Okay. Since we're spending money, let's go with the roll call, please.
Councilmember Lucinovich.
Aye.
Smith.
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris.
Yes.
Mayor McGuire.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, we're now down to ND4, adoption of master residential plan review fee. Very good, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. This staff report is just to reduce a fee that is, we currently have for plan checks. The way our master fee schedule is currently written, on a plan check, we charge 65% of the building permit fee. When I started working here, and I started after the boom, but I was told during the boom, the city would only charge 50% for a master plan. A master plan is a floor plan that doesn't change. So the only thing that changes is the top page, which is your site plan. And that wasn't really an issue because we weren't issuing a lot of building permits for single family dwellings. But in the last 7 months, we started to get some master plans that came in. And it appears that developers are gonna start building off that master plan. So just recently I was asked for the 50% discount. And I said, yeah, I think that's the way it goes, but let me look it up. So I tried looking in our master fee schedule, I tried looking in our code, and I couldn't find anywhere in writing where we gave that 50%. So then I decided we should put it in writing. And when I was looking at is 50% accurate, I realized that a single family dwelling blueprints can be anywhere from 8 to 20 pages around there. So when you have a master plan, you only really check that first page. The other pages you just check to make sure they match. So that's a lot quicker. So I believe a fair reduction in cost would be about 75%. So that would put the actual percentage that we use to charge for the plan check for master plan stuff about 16.25. And the recommendation is that City Council approve the attached resolution establishing a new master residential plan review fee for plan review for master residential building plan sets. I'll take questions now.
Well, I've got one question. Our master fee schedule hasn't been addressed and we're starting on the 4th year. So how can we approve this if we don't have the master fee schedule done? You gotta have the base done before you make any corrections.
Sorry, yeah, staff plans to bring the new edited master fee schedule for review on the 28th to receive comments from council. So that we do have a new one that's been edited. We plan on bringing it on the 28th. But this is it's a fee that's already in the master fee.
Well, you just said it wasn't.
No, the reduction is not in there, but the 65% for a regular plan check is 65% of the building permit fee.
I think the master fee schedule should lead before we do any reductions. And that's just, it hasn't been addressed, and it doesn't seem right to me that it almost seems like we're trying to put the horse before the cart, if that makes sense.
The cart before the horse, I think.
Or
so.
whatever. It doesn't seem right. It seems off.
And the,
Mayor, we can add this to the 28th meeting.
well, we're gonna end up tabling 10,000 things here. But I think in this case that it should, because the master P's gotta be addressed before we can go into each section of that. It just, we have the amounts there, but we can't reduce them because we don't have a new master fee schedule. And those fees, that's just me. I don't know about anybody else. If you have any questions.
Mr. Berrigan, I know your desire is to spur more revenue streams into our community. And would this not be very attractive to a large development coming into our community?
Yeah, yes, it would.
And right now, we don't have any large developments that are concrete.
No.
And I appreciate the mayor's position, but I think this would, if we can legally do this, I think that this would spur an interest for large development in our community. And where I'm a conservative, I believe we need to be progressive in pursuing every legitimate revenue stream we have. So my view would I think this would be, it would be good for our community if we can do that.
We can legally reduce it without a public hearing.
Pardon?
We can legally reduce it without a public hearing.
Cost of services can't increase it.
Right.
Right.
So does anybody else have anything to add to this conversation so far? From the public?
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. I'm DJ Tuig. I sit on the Board of Directors at Kern Tax, as well as founder of mycalcity.org. With respect to development fees, it's a serious issue. As you recall, in the past year, we brought much testimony and analysis on the impediments in California City to the housing industry. We worked very hard. We did a qualitative study and a quantitative study, and a practical method of analyzing the circumstances over the past 10 years. As you recall, in our analysis, over 10 years, there was a whopping grand total of 15 residential permits. 15! Where in decades before, there were 1,500. What had changed? The aptitude and attitudes of sticking it to the builders and sticking it to the industry for all you can changed. It became a regressive community. And so as a result of our analysis and your council's pleasure to amend that to reduce unnecessary development fees, in the past 7 months, there have been more permits issued than the past 10 years combined. Now there's many other variables. The economy is getting better, the price per foot's getting better, there's lots of variables. But one thing that you did is make a correction. And the builders are very grateful. There are items going into plan check, and one of the things that's being looked at is a master set of plans, where it's a plan that's much favored, that has high regard by the home buyer. They want to build it in a few different areas. And so you have an easterly view, you have a westerly scene, you have a northerly scene, and so the cover page or the site plan has its different orientations, 4 different orientations, and they're on a different lot. And if you would approve this, you may actually see conforming neighborhoods. You're probably not going to see it until you get rid of parcel taxes and start getting rid of other things that are unnecessary for subdivisions that take years to develop. But however, you might get something. And so this is how you apply your council's discretion to actually attract conforming neighborhoods into this community by making it attractive. It'd be nice if we could compete. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Jim Creighton. Mayor, I agree with you, Councilman Smith, respectfully, I disagree. A 2-week wait is not gonna have people, if you sign this resolution tonight, people are not gonna be lining up outside the door. Okay, 2 weeks is not that long to wait. I disagree. I say include it in the master fee, which is coming in 2 weeks.
Thank you. Anybody else? Bring it back up here. Bring it in.
I certainly want to encourage, anybody who's gonna bring a concerted efforts of projects to this community. I don't have a problem with it tonight or in 2 weeks. I don't think it makes a lot of difference one way or the other.
Then? No, you got anything?
No, sir.
Well, I'll make it's 2 weeks different, 2 weeks to wait. I agree with Commissioner Creighton, people aren't gonna be lined up. Our staff has worked hard on these recommendations. I don't see it negatively affecting, and the master fee schedule can address this. So I'd make a motion that we would approve the recommendation.
You got a first, look, second. Got a first and second. Madam Clerk, can we have roll call on this one, please?
Councilmember Lisanovich,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Paris,
Yes.
Mayor McGuire.
Reluctantly, yes, but we need to get, next one, we need to get the master fee schedule done without fail. Okay. So now we're on to, ND 5. Install a new 12-inch water main on Nerelia. Mr. Bergen, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. In an effort to create revenue and promote growth in California City staff wants to install a new 12-inch water line extension on Aurelia Road. The new 12-inch water line on Aurelia Road will run from Mendenboro to Collins. There is already a potential customer on the northwest corner of Collins and Aurelia. On the west side of Aurelia, there are 11 potential customers whose parcels are zoned M1. Track 2812 on the east side would also benefit from this water line. There are potential customers on M1 properties on the east side of Aurelia, north of track 2812 as well. The material for this project is estimated to be $135,936. The time frame for this project is 2 to 3 months. The labor for this project is estimated to be 3 maintenance workers, 2 general service workers. The following equipment, which the city already has, would be used: 1 excavator, 1 backhoe, 1 water truck, if the city council approves the project. The estimated labor cost is around $75,000. The recommendation is city council approves the new 12-inch water main extension from Mendenboro to Collins at a cost not to exceed $211,000. I'll take questions.
It's all gonna be done in-house?
Yes.
When can we start?
If it gets approved, we'll have to order the material, and as soon as the material gets here.
How long before the material gets here? Ballpark.
Couple months, between 1 and 2 months.
1 to 2 months to get it.
But we could get started now, these potholes, and start with the material we do have on hand, and replace it.
Yeah, if you're gonna come up and talk, cause I got yelled at last night.
Amador Meza, California city resident and city employee. So we do have some material, that we have on stock for, just blowouts and regular stuff. So we could get started, we could, start potholing all these, the crossings, get that going. But, if we green light it, we can order material now. We could start this evening within a couple weeks. Some parts may take a little longer, but I want to say a couple of weeks.
My only question is if we use materials that we have on hand now, we're not gonna cut our nose off, spite our face, so if we have blowouts, we'll have the material there to address them.
Absolutely, yeah, I wouldn't run us dry. I always leave something there for any situation that would come up.
Question, rationale, why pick this particular piece?
This is the most interest I've seen from developers. I've actually spoken to 6 developers on the east and west side, that came in, there was a developer that came from Oregon, and they were on the west side of Aurelia, and they actually had to set several plans. And then, then when they found out there was no water, that I think, I don't know if it drove them away, pushed them away, or they haven't come back yet. So the hope is if this gets approved, we make a phone call, try to find them, say, hey, the city's gonna run a water line down there, and then hopefully that brings them back.
Thank you.
Anybody else if you have questions? Sir?
Okay.
Anybody from the public?
Again, this money looks like it's coming out of the Water Enterprise Fund. Between NB3 and NB5, that's $554,000, and not 1 inch of water line has been replaced in the city that the public voted on to do. Not 1 inch. If this is going out to developers, what is the projected revenue to the city? We don't have any numbers there. All we have are alleged numbers to put the line in, with no benefit to the taxpayers and the city. And until we have beneficial numbers, they should be tabled. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
Mayor McGuire and council and staff, DJ Tuhig. So I'll disclose, we do have a property along Lindbergh that came before your council for a zone change. And so I'll try to speak to the merits in the region more than our specific parcel. And so along Neuralia, north and south, is where most of your permits have been issued, your conditional permits that came through council. Those areas we've often testified as the heart of what we believe to be the cannabis zone. Additionally, the Edison and former city manager Stockwell and Mr. McGuire, I don't know if you're in those meetings with Edison when they made the concessions in a written letter to the city, February 7th, I believe, when they said they were spending the $58 million to bring in 61 megawatts, the first line came down to and services that project at Neuralia and Mendeboro. This is the heart of the cannabis zone. There's a lot of permits issued there. You have folks already with buildings up at Mendeboro and Lindbergh. One power line has been put in. The water was brought across the street. We probably are aware of that. From approximately Mendeboro at Neuralia west across Neuralia. And so if the line is extended north, as Senior Building Official Berrigan has said, all those properties lying west of Neuralia suddenly become more developable because those pre-development costs of adding water lines west of Neuralia incrementally, parcel by parcel, it's cumbersome. Additionally, all the way out to the project that's been approved where you see some activities taking place at Collins and Neuralia is in another project that's been approved and the development agreement sent to the city as well. That project has multiple permits on Collins. Additionally, if you go west of Collins, there's more properties heading west on Collins as well. So you come from Collins south to Lindbergh, and then from Lindbergh south, that's the heart of the cannabis zone, where there's power. And so for the last several decades that I'm aware, our office has spent several $100,000 in taxes on vacant parcels. Some of those levied water standby fees. And in my own analysis as a taxpayer advocate, we believe that the trend is that's illegal. I made mention to Councilman Lisenovich, if you recall back in the workshop period, when I said one way that the city could justify some of those millions of dollars collected is if the city actually truly did use some of those millions of dollars to actually build and construct water lines. It's also for reconstruction of water lines. And so you have collected tens of millions that has not been used. Sure where it all went. Maybe your study has figured out where all the money is. I don't know where it is, but I know it's been collected. And so we made mention a year ago that possibly Cal City Boulevard, I have no property on Cal City Boulevard, I'm disclosing that to the west. But however, that's an area that would draw economic opportunities on Cal City Boulevard. I believe the same is true for Neuralia North, where all those business permits have been issued. So I ask you to approve this for the region of Neuralia and the heart of the cannabis zone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
David Stafford, California City, been here forever. This is the first plan I've seen that the city's actually stood up and said, we're gonna take the lead in this, we think we can make this happen. This is what a city council is supposed to do. Give direction. You got a group from the city here that's come up with this prices is excellent. They can't be beat, I'll tell you that right now. What he's come up with will make money. Mr. Wrighty, when he was here working for the city in the water department eons ago, he had the same plan. Let's run the water out Neuralia, go to Collins, tie it into the airport. Same way going down Cal City Boulevard, tie them in their loops that they need. That is a money maker. We have the money to do this project. This project here will bring in more money than anything that you've done in this city, just for the simple fact that all the businesses and the money and infrastructure is going in to make that happen right now.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? If not, bring it back up here.
Make a motion, we approve.
Second. Motion by, Mayor Pro Tem Paris, I know the city councilman.
Call me whatever you want.
Don and, Nick seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Lucinovich.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Mayor McGuire. I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem Karas.
I don't care, I'll vote.
Yes.
Mayor
I'll vote
McGuire.
with it, I'll say yes too.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Okay, solves that. ND6, discussion of RRQ/RFP for waste, for water/sewer fee study, standby fee studies, and updates to water sewer master plan. Mr. Berrigan, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. City staff, with the help of BHD, is producing an RFQ/RFP for an update to the water and sewer master plan. This RFQ/RFP is also for a standby fee study and a water, wastewater, reclaimed water, and sewer rate study. Staff wants a comprehensive study that will incorporate other organizational reports that are considered to be accurate. The update on the water and sewer master plan will give city staff a clear vision on where the city water system should be in 5, 10, 20 years. City staff has already received multiple comments on the RFQ draft that is attached. We will incorporate all comments in the final draft that the city council wants in the RFQ. Staff will bring back a final RFQ on January 28, 2020 for the city council to approve. The recommendation is city council discuss the RFQ draft, listen to the public comments, and direct staff to bring back a final draft for approval on January 28, 2020. I'll take questions.
Discussion. So this.
Joe, how come we're going to an RFQ here when we have an engineering firm that we've already registered with to do these things?
We don't, the engineering firm we have, we don't feel they're qualified to do what we want to do.
So then,
a water rate study shows they update a master land sewer plan. All the things we're gonna do here are completely different than GIS mapping system. They're totally different things.
So why would we not have, why would we gladly accept this request for qualifications and fight so hard on the other, the GIS proposal? Why would you make, I mean, if you feel that you don't have qualified engineers for this, and we would like to see competitive bids and find out, what this might cost us to do. Why couldn't we ask that on the question of the GIS study?
Yeah, I put slash RFP just to make people understood, but we really are doing an RFQ, which is just a request for qualifications. So as Brian stated, we'll get the proposals. We won't look at the number, we'll just look at the qualification first. Once we find a firm that we believe is qualified, then the council will be able to negotiate with that firm for the cost of the,
Are we qualified to negotiate with anyone?
So my question is, so all this is getting, the ball put in play, that's it?
Well, one of the things we've spoken to a few citizens, we spoke to AVAC, and we've already gotten great comments. So we thought it'd be great to bring it to council, bring it to the public, and let the public see it for a couple of weeks, so we can take in more comments, and then that way we can bring a revised final product to put out that's approved by council. So it's just an opportunity for the public to speak on it, give their comments. We've already received pages and pages of comments already, and all great comments too, good information, stuff like that.
Don't we need that?
Well, it's in your packet right here.
The comments?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're attached. It's like, I condensed it.
It's the second attachment.
I had about 14 pages of comments.
Attachment two.
I condensed it to about, I think it's 5, maybe 4. I gave you cliff notes on it.
Yes, sir.
It was in my packet.
It's in mine.
Mr. Mayor.
Just trying to see if
Yeah.
maybe I looked at it.
Mr. Barry?
Oh, comments, I'm sorry, I just looked at it. Yeah.
So with the RFP, so are we going to be having bidders on this, or are you gonna be finding the qualified person you want and recommending giving it to them? Or are we going to have 3 bids coming back before us?
We're gonna get requests for qualifications, and then you pick the most qualified person. But in this case, you're gonna have other references, other numbers you can look at for negotiation purposes. That's the benefit of doing an RFQ.
Where you, yeah.
It's a two-phase system selection.
My question is, why is BHT involved? They're only supposed to be working on federal and state grant engineering projects, not a city-funded project.
We have task orders from both our engineers, Aero and BHT, to help us with the RFQ, and BHT was the lowest, so that's who we went with. And the reason we did reach out to engineers on this is we want this to be as thorough as possible. We want it to be comprehensive. We want it to include everything that needs to be on it, because it's so important.
So this is the report that we've all been trying to see for a while, dealing with the water rate study. Is that what this is all about?
This RFQ is for a company to do a standby fee study.
To do a water rate study, dealing with everything we've asked about in the past.
Yes.
That's shocker.
But it's not gonna be complete without the GIS,
Correct.
of the statistics.
Absolutely correct.
Okay, all right. I get it. I get it. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes, well, we have, on page 3 of your 14,
Make sure your mic's on.
yeah, it's on, I just gotta clean up here.
Okay.
The California City Correctional Facility population is listed at 2,800, down on section B. And yet if you go to the state's population website, they're showing that the correctional facility has a population of 2,179 as of January 1, 2020. I'm just seeing some inconsistencies in your documents here.
Yeah, you're referring to the comments page, correct?
No.
Introduction.
Introduction.
Yeah, so that's some of the great information we got from in the comments. We found some discrepancies, so we're gonna fix all those and then bring a new final draft on the 28th that'll incorporate all the comments in the back. And as I said, we received over 14 pages in comments that are really gonna help us make this final draft a lot better to hopefully get everything we're looking for and have it be accurate.
I have, 2 or 3 pages of questions that I'll give you. rather
Thank you.
than try to
That's what we're looking for. Yeah.
Go from there.
Okay, so basically, this isn't gonna cost us anything to go out and do this, and to go out and do this.
Yeah.
This,
It will come, you'll have to advertise it.
yeah, well, I get that. What are we looking at? Ballpark. Ballpark, for advertising.
It'll probably be, I think,
Staff has to review it.
11, 12 pages.
She's going, oh my goodness.
These usually run like $1,200, yeah, the big ones are usually 1,200
Ballpark,
ballpark.
and that's the nature of the beast.
Yeah, we can put ads referring them back to City Hall or our website where they can find the RFQ.
Yeah.
So.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
What about if our clerk, instead of typing it, she could do it in really fine, handwritten, to save us money? That was supposed to be funny.
Okay, so, well, we're gonna bring it up, we're gonna ask the public to come up, but, this seems like a no-brainer. This is dealing with something that everybody has been screaming up here about for a lot of years. And the public has been doing the same thing, and it's time to move forward, so to me, it's a no-brainer.
Jim Creighton, I agree, it's a no-brainer. And I apologize, I did not read the comments in the background. So if I add something or say something that's already there, I apologize ahead of time. Under section 1C timeline, that's showing December 19th as the issue date, so that needs to be revised, all that stuff. Section 1D, on the last line, you state firms aren't, I'm gonna tell you, firms aren't requesting the RFQ, the city is. Kind of a grammatical thing there.
Okay.
And I'll give these to you too.
Okay, perfect.
My suggestion would probably read something like, have submitted an RFQ. Section 2, figure 1, update the timeline. Section 3, task 2, item 18. Won't the GIS development of the water system satisfy much of this requirement, thereby reducing costs of the city? Okay, that'd be something to think about during negotiations. Item 19, pretty much the same thing. Can't the detailed maps required from the GIS contract fill in this section? Section 4, item 4, should there be a review before 90%? If you wait till 90%, there may be some considerable rewrite and that may delay things. So I would recommend, the feds used to do 35, 60, and 90. I would pick a 35 or 60 and then go with the 90 after that. Attachment 2 on the sample contract. I personally would like to see liquidated damages in all our contracts. The city gets screwed 98% of the time on any contract they ever do. Liquidated damages, for those that don't know, if a contractor doesn't perform to the contract standards, we take money back. For those of you that don't know. So I'd like to see that on any contract the city does.
Yes, I agree. I agree. Anybody else? I've got one question for you, Joe, and this is dealing with the one prior to, when we're gonna go in and survey to find out where all the lines are and where all the valves are and so. I was under the impression that our SCADA system was supposed to have already been doing that.
What our SCADA system does, it monitors the wells, it monitors our pumps, monitors our storage tank to indicate pressure levels, whether the pump is on or off, things like that. This is completely different. This is gonna be like a map of a water system.
Yes.
That would show, so if let's say you went to like a Walpole, you could go on Walpole, stand in front of a house, look at your phone if you have internet.
Do your GPS.
Or look at your little maps that, and then you could know what size pipe is in there, what type of material,
where the valves are to shut that section off.
And I was just under the impression that I thought that's what our SCADA was supposed to be doing, or in addition to what it's already doing.
Our SCADA system monitors our wells, our pumps, our tanks, things like that.
But it does not show the layout.
Oh.
Okay, you've answered my question, thank you.
And then just on the final draft, we'll bring a not to exceed amount on the advertising to council. So we know which.
Okay. So we're not gonna advertise this bad boy until
After the 28th.
So
I'll have to
get you a final
28th.
draft. We're gonna take all the comments.
Yeah.
And incorporate them into one final draft, and we'll bring it on the 28th.
On the 28th, and then we advertise.
And then we advertise.
Okay. I'm happy with that. No doubt. No plus, no less. Now, anybody else from public? Then bring it back up here.
Just consensus, he's gonna come back.
He's gonna come back. Yeah. Okay, good. That solves that problem. Pardon? Okay, public business, that's it for that, public business from the floor. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the city council on any matter not on this agenda and over which the city council has jurisdiction. Please state your name for the record and please limit your time to 3 minutes. Public business from the floor.
Good evening again, Mr. Mayor, council members. At the last council meeting, I raised the question of the lowering of the water rates. And I was promised that it would be on this agenda. It is not.
I believe it's gonna be on the 28th, because of so much stuff that came in reference to bringing that up to speed. Does that make sense? We had to take steps before we could get to the run.
So, and regarding 28th, there are public notices requirements, so we'll need to look into that, so it's possible that it may need, for legal reasons, may need to be component to the following meeting.
Okay, because this has been
Yeah.
put on.
No argument.
And in the meantime, the public is still paying illegal fees. And there was a blog by an attorney that says if anyone believes that their municipality is overcharging to contact them, beware. The next item that I'd like to bring up is we have a number of very expensive lawsuits pending and potential lawsuits pending. I think that the council and every city employee needs to be aware that if the city is forced into bankruptcy through the non-settlement of these lawsuits, that their pensions are in jeopardy. There's an article right here that says, CalPERS pensioners beware. Bankruptcy court appellate court rulings may open the door to public pension reductions. There is no carryover from the 1955 California Supreme Court decision that says pensions are untouchable. Bankruptcy courts are chipping away at it, and they're following the lead in the Stockton bankruptcy court of filing, and the reduction of benefits. They're also reducing the spike, what they call spiking, that is where they're being paid for their sick leave time and vacation time, include that into their pensions. So just be aware that if these expensive lawsuits, like the 3 broken bones and skull fractures and such, if they're not settled, they're putting people's jeopardy, or they're putting people's pensions in jeopardy. And that's what I have to say on that. If you'd like a copy of this filing.
Yeah, if you can send me a copy and I'll just get it from you. I don't know if anybody else up here wants it.
Anybody else?
else?
Evening, Mayor McGuire and council, I'll be as brief as I possibly can. I met with you in your office, actually the city manager's office, sometime in December. Mr. Paris was there and we discussed, my daughter was there. Yes. We were discussing about the unique period of time that we have right now, that a year or so has passed since the parcel tax was passed, that the city officials could actually embrace planning and strategic planning that would have the result of attracting economic growth in our community. We talked about possibly having must-have deliverables and solutions to all the issues that would attract investment in our community. And the urgent issue is the $7 million a year deficit spending, which is punishing the property owners that have vacant land to support police and fire safety. And so as a result, this year, this new decade, I would ask that you consider bringing an action item to see what that might look like, a strategic plan that would actually incrementally bring economic growth to the city. How do you do that? One of the things that I suggest that you do is work with what we call predetermined results. These are must-haves. An example of that would be, we need to have $1 million a year in general tax revenue growth. What are some ideas? How could we collaborate to increase our general tax revenue by $1 million a year? That would be a must-have deliverable. Another must-have deliverable, just as an example, might be branding. When we look at the percentage of the budget in the mid-year budget, it would actually set aside branding for the future years. We write a plan that we would go out to the universe and give messaging that's more appropriate for California city quality of life and our resources. It's been made mention that the city is being branded, we're just not controlling our brand. It's what the universe calls us, we might not like what they're calling us. I think you've seen the story in the Vice article. And so that's not appropriate. It's not something that many people want to invest. I'll share a brief story. One of my residents moved into a lovely home on Mendocino and absolutely loves her new residence. Works at Northrop. And was telling her family and friends about her beautiful home. And the comment was, "What are you doing in Cal blank?" This messaging is not appropriate. It's up to this administration to come up with a branding plan that will rebrand California City into a place that people want to be. And so that would be a must-have deliverable. And there's more. The AVAC fees can be reduced. And there's others. Renegotiation possibly with the prison for contributions, certainly for water and streets. And so there's items of the city that are critical issues that you could actually focus in a strategic plan to solve those problems. I'd like to see an action item to do so. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Jim Creighton again, I feel like Al. On 10 December, this council rejected a bid for a replacement freezer at the animal shelter for a bid by a local company whose bid came in on the same day of council meeting. So we have a late bid that was allowed and awarded. A late bid was also submitted by another company, but not even put in the package for review. This I know for a fact because I put the bid in for them. The bid was accepted by council and the assurance by the contractor that the new freezer would be installed and operational in 1.5 to 2 weeks' time. Well, folks, here we are 5 weeks later to the day, and what do we have? Well, interesting, work began today. The old freezer's been removed, the new one's up. What's left is a refrigeration unit, and I assume a final by someone on staff, and I certainly hope it's going to be critical. Still, we have a late bid allowed and accepted by council. We had the low bidding contractor state that the new freezer would be completed in 1.5 to 2 weeks. Now, you may wonder why I support best value on a contract over low bid. Well, here's a perfect case in point. This is not the only example of the low bid not turning out to be the best way to go. I can cite at least one other right off the top of my head with a laundry list of items that went wrong on that one. In general terms, you get what you pay for. Another point I'd like to make is that PD should never put this project out for bid. This is a facilities issue, and Public Works should have been the one doing this, not PD. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Seeing none, council agenda. This portion of the council meeting is reserved for council members to present information, announcements, and items that have come to their attention. The Brown Act precludes council, staff, or public discussion. Short staff responses are appropriate. The council will take no formal action. The council member may request the city clerk to calendar an item for consideration at a future meeting or refer an item to staff. Does anybody have any AB 1234s?
I know, I saw some
Okay.
2018 on the truck.
Councilman Sundridge, sir.
Very little tonight, and I'm grateful for that. First thing is we asked the city manager to give updates to the community and to the council, and that item is not on the agenda. Are we having a workshop on the 24th?
With the public
That's,
works?
that's in my report to you in a minute, so yes.
So you're gonna give us a report after the fact?
Yeah.
After we adjourn?
Well, no.
Because we're gonna adjourn right after last person makes.
No, and I left a message that I would have a report on the 28th
Okay,
to you,
okay.
so.
So to the community, there's a workshop to be held on the 24th at 10 in the morning here in the chambers for, where streets.
Public Works and Council.
I won't be here.
Oh, you know what, his father-in-law passed away, and so he'll be at that funeral. So,
So it isn't gonna be on the 24th?
yeah,
So,
sorry about your loss.
so that's gonna be changed then?
Yeah, we're gonna have to, yes.
Yeah, I just want clarity on that. Okay, so nothing.
Is that, that's the 24th is the day the city is, city hall is closed, or is open?
Yes, yes.
So then the next one after that is, February 7th, or 20, yeah, 7th. Since we'll do that 7th?
Or is it the 6th? Is it the 6th?
7th is Friday. Council.
The 7th, the 5th?
Yes. City hall's open. Does that work?
Yeah, it'll work for me, I don't care. That'll work. What time?
10.
It'll be 10 a.m.
So, do you want to describe it to the community, or does it matter?
Yeah, we thought it'd be a good idea to get the council, do a special meeting with the council and the Public Works Department, because their projects are huge, the budget's huge, to work some things out. So we'll have a workshop at 10 a.m. on now the 7th, it'll be a public meeting between the Public Works and the council. Would you like to add the planning commission as well?
I'll be there. I don't know. We'll bring it up at next planning commission meeting, see if they
Okay.
want to attend.
Okay. But it'll be on the 7th at 10.
That's all I have.
Okay, Councilman Paris, or Mayor Pro Tem Paris now. Okay.
Just a couple things, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Maybe I'm not aware of this, but I think that there was an oversight when Commissioner Elms became OHV manager. I don't know that was she ever given any, I thought the proclamations were great, the commendations that were given tonight. Was Commissioner Elms ever given any type of commendation, any tangible appreciation for serving?
No, but we were thankful for her, but we could do that.
I think it would be appropriate, I think it would be appropriate to present that to her. Mayor Pro Tem Stump is, he did the honorable thing. He spending more time in Nevada than California, and with legal advice, he did the honorable thing. I think it would be appropriate to share with him some gratitude as well. I don't remember our last mayor. I don't remember anything tangible that was shown to her for 8 years of service. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's appropriate but I think it's appropriate to commend, their city workers. I think that's, and for those who have served, the planning commission misses, Commissioner Elms very much. And, so, I think it was an oversight. Secondly, I don't know how to state this. I want to be as gracious as I can, but if somebody is selling goods to the city in whatever means it is, I'm not putting much stock in what their legal advice to us and what we're supposed to do. I want to get that from staff and from our legal counsel. And if someone has asked us to vote on something, then we're the ones that are putting our stamp of approval on it. And I really don't appreciate trying to be bullied into making a decision that our council has said that we have, that we can't expand the process. And maybe department heads or whoever is perhaps coaching folks that are presenting, maybe they could encourage them to tell them it's not going to be received very well. And then lastly, there's a whole lot of discussion about the number of waivers that in the last couple of years to 3 years that have been granted. And I would like to request that every council member receives a list of the waivers that have been granted. And if something has not followed the process, or for example, if the senior building official or the director of public works has not signed off on a public works project, I think there ought to be a rationale why, when it's somebody that's not normally doing that. So I think that would be very helpful, and I would appreciate if all the council could receive such a list. That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Other than that, yes, ma'am. If you're gonna do yours?
Just a couple of dates. I want to make sure that people in town know that the town hall meeting on the 16th is going to be rescheduled.
Okay.
So it does not happen this Thursday. And then also we've talked about the 28th, but for the master fee schedule, we need to publicly notice that or look into the details for that. So you're going to look into that. It may not be the 28th.
Okay, it'll probably be then.
It would be the 10th.
You're talking about reducing the water.
Or the master fee schedule, bringing it to you. No, we have it ready. We said that it would be here on the 28th, and we need to notice it before we do it. So we won't be able to do that until the 24th for the next Mojave News cycle, sorry. And then the next meeting after that is February 10th. So it may not be on the 28th.
Okay.
Just letting you know, we should have said that.
If it has to be
Yeah.
noticed, then we follow the rules.
To reduce the water rates?
No, to bring the new master fee schedule. Yep, yeah. But it is 95% done, so we were excited about bringing it.
All right, then with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so very much for being here tonight. Looking for a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Looking for a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you all for attending tonight. Have a very good night and super weekend.
Yeah.